Hello, hello, welcome back to the world's worst Elden Ring playthrough. It feels like sometimes. So today, there's one or two little wrap-up things to do, as usual, there always is. Up at Church of Pilgrimage. Up at the Church of Pilgrimage, there was a single item drop, which was a shield, which has basically nothing on it, to be honest. Gilded iron shield, small metal round shield, heavier than a wooden shield, but boosts higher damage negation. Though the gold leaf is peeling, and the effect is slight, it still boosts holy damage negation. So apparently coating it in gold something, whatever the gold leaf happens to be, like the leaf could be made of anything, I suppose, that has something to do with holy, because gold equals holy in this setting. Wonderful, right? There's also like one or two other things that I picked up. Oh yeah, I farmed out several things. I've gotten like the forked hatchet. Peculiar hatchet wielded by imps. The gently undulating fork blade is known as an imp's tongue. Gross. And causes blood loss. Neat. This looks like perhaps one of the most impractical weapons ever designed. Even as a farming implement, it would probably not work very well. Anyways, iron cleaver, you get these from Demi-humans. Fairly large iron cleaver, commonly used by the maltreated misbegotten. The maltreated misbegotten. Okay. Well, actually, yeah. I don't know if misbegotten are also Demi-humans. I think that they are. But maybe it's like a subclass of... because the Demi-humans that we've seen in Limgrave are different than the ones that we have seen running around in the southern region, the Weeping Peninsula. Awoo! Hello, Lumi. Steeped in resentment, these weapons are swung wildly and relentlessly, often after rushing up to foes. Yes, they are, and it's quite annoying, and I have several of them because I've been killing a lot of those dudes. Also, this is the long-hafted axe. These are dropped... I have not done these areas yet, but I got this from Castle Morne from doing co-op. I've been doing a lot of co-op, since I haven't been able to do anything else. Large iron axe with a long handle, weapon of the maltreated misbegotten once again. Making use of the forces generated by its length, this weapon's resentment charged blows are difficult to stop. Resentment charged. That's me most of the time. Every time I press Bandicam's record feature, it is a resentment-charged press of my mouse button. Alright. I think that's pretty much it. No, wait. I've gotten a few of these, Grossmesser. It is a curved sword boasting a large blade. This weapon is designed to make use of its weight in combination with a sharp cutting edge. A thoroughly reliable choice weapon for those who can master its particulars. German, of course, for just... big-ass knife, basically. It drops from very, very particular skeletons that wield this weapon. We'll do that pretty early on in this particular part, I believe. And that should be about it. My inventory's a mess today. Last time I actually... Oh, by the way, sorry. The Blessed Dew Talisman, I got this from the giant that we were running around trying to fight at the very end of the last part. Talisman depicting a drop of the Erdtree sap, a blessed boon. Ooh, sap. Gradually restores health points. It was once thought that the blessed sap of the Erdtree would drip from its bowels forever, but that age of plenty swiftly came to a close, and with time the Erdtree became more an object of faith. I wonder if this happened after the shattering of the Elden Ring, or if it happened before. It was once thought that the blessed sap of the Erdtree would drip from spells forever, but the Age of Plenty swiftly came to a close. It says that it swiftly came to a close, which makes me think that this actually happened a very, very long time ago. So, whenever the Erdtree first became a thing, it did bleed a lot of the sap off, but then it said that it came to a close swiftly. Because if the Elden Ring was shattered almost instantly, that wouldn't really make a lot of sense. That's what my logic is. Interesting all the same. But I did go back up there, all the way up here, to the Divine Bridge, where we warped to the other day. And I killed that giant off screen. Sure enough, as I said, I was wondering what exactly he would drop, and I think I described it as a pittance of souls and a spit in the mouth, or something like that. And that's exactly what it was. It was exactly, I counted them, 2,992 runes that it gave me, and nothing else. It gave me absolutely nothing besides that. So, super cool. Really appreciate that. Alright. Let's go over here and talk to Yura, who I keep completely forgetting is actually up here. This is a little bit north of where you get invaded initially, around Murkwater. Then you go up here, and right under this little area, he likes hiding out under shelters, like natural shelters formed by these big ruins. He's a big fan of that. Also, my eyes are a little bit glowy today for some reason. It's probably just the lighting. I know that your eyes do change color if you start using dragon stuff, but I don't have the ability to do that. Yeah, see, whenever I move my camera a little bit, then my eyes, the glint does not, it is not present in my big, beautiful eyes. Now, last time I started out my playthrough part 8, in a pleasant mood, and then got really, really angry as time went on. So maybe the trick is to start out angry and then become better. Also, something that I have done today, just as sort of a test, is Vadi's little password thing that he's been using. This is for people that are trying to find stuff like secrets and whatnot. Not that I'm officially endorsing Vadi, or, you know, who fucking cares. But yeah, I've had this on for like the past 15 minutes or so we'll see what happens with that. I have noticed that some bloodstains kind of just never go away, and they have rings around them, which is kind of neat, so we'll check some of that stuff out. And I think these, like, signs that are glowing, yeah, see how they have little rings around them? These are from very specifically group messages. So these are just anyone that is part of that same group that has been leaving things, whether they are bloodstains or messages, they will show up like that. It's pretty neat. I considered doing my own group, but what would it be about? Nothing. That's the answer to that question, nothing. It would be about nothing. So, this is Yura once again, still looking old. He also has a little glint in his eye. Like Santa. Okay.
We meet again. To have fought Nereus and lived. You must have seen your share of battle. I am Yura, as you might recall. Hunter of bloody fingers. Tarnished, held in thrall by cessblood. Zealots, who stalk
Cessblood?
You stay the path. You're certain to face more of them. Just remember, no kinship with their ilk remains. Their madness precludes it. Don't let your emotions stay your blade.
I do like that he does, the voice actor does a good job of this. He does seem very old and wizened and kind of tired and maybe a bit of a loner. Also, anytime that you, I think, defeat a Shardbearer or someone becomes quote-unquote Elden Lord, in other words, beat the game or whatever, then you get a 5% boost to your rune acquisition, I think it is. It's something like that. So, one of those neat little features that doesn't really get mentioned too much.
Perhaps we will meet again.
Now get out of here.
If fate permits.
I've got a pig to find. Someone stole my pig.
Perhaps we will meet.
Okay, so that's that. Also, meanwhile, the Erd tree is peeing all over us, which is good news for us. Oh, it's just the skeletons. What do you got for me, buddy? Poison bloom. Oh, thank God. My life's dream. Okay, and that just leads to the cave, which, go away. Which is somewhere up there. I killed a bunch of these bears before. Go away. I don't give a shit about you. And speaking of bears, that's what I was thinking of. If you remember, there's some random-ass guy out in the middle of nowhere. Maybe I can do that real fast. He's like right around here or something. Can't quite remember his exact location. But it's some random commoner, and if you kill him, instead of dying like a good God-fearing man would do, I think it's that one right there, he instead transforms into a particularly angry bear. But I think this is supposed to be... yeah. Goodness. I think this is supposed to be your... hello, thank you. Alright, God's sakes. This is a Runebear. God, can't even get away from the fucking thing. Alright, he's an asshole, so he'll just follow me to the ends of the earth. Because he's so preoccupied with me, in particular. Come over here. Jesus. Later on, we will encounter a cave that has one of these fucking horrible things. And true to form, are you gonna do anything? Why do you keep rearing back to attack? Here, see, whenever I promise to start out pissed off, this is what I'm trying to generate the energy now. Oh, I love how it dodges his attack, but because he's such a giant fucking stupid asshole, he gets a free hit in just by being in the area. Oh, fuck you. I really hate this enemy type. Ha! My message got appraised. God, look how fucking fast his attacks are. Bitch. Spastic ass, big fat asshole. There we go, okay. Larval tier. This is our first one on this particular playthrough. Yay us. Yeah, that enemy type is fucking awful. Later on in that dungeon that we're going to have to fight that thing in... where is this thing? Can't remember. I kept hearing something outside shouting. Which could either be one of the dogs or sometimes it's one of the roosters or something. You can never quite be sure. Always have to make sure that nothing has gotten itself entangled inside of a wire or something. Which has happened in the past. One time, this has nothing to do with LP. One time, I went outside and there was a bird that had somehow gotten itself trapped in between... we have electric wires that follow the perimeter of parts of the fencing. And, of course, that's to keep both our animals away from that fencing so that they don't try to, like, burrow under it or try to squeeze themselves through it or whatever else. And which is somewhat cruel, I suppose, because electrical fencing always is. I don't really like it, but they eventually learn they just stay away from it. It doesn't actually hurt them. It is quite inconvenient, though. And the first time that they touch it, they'll let you know about it. But one time I found a bird... just an ordinary-ass bird of some sort. I think... was it a robin? No, I think it's like a sparrow or something. That had lodged itself in between that wire and, like, a little bit of fencing that was on the other side of it, or something like that. And it had just gotten stuck, and I guess had been that way for hours. So as a result, yeah, it was gone. It had long since been dead, but... that low-level shock that's supposed to just be barely enough to get them away from it, that must have been agony for that poor little thing. So I'll always have that in the back of my head. Just like something that might get stuck over there. Always kind of gives me this low-level panic anytime I hear something screeching outside for whatever reason. Larval tier, anyways. On to more interesting things, I guess. Core of a creature of mimicry, known as a silver tier. This is kind of worded strangely. The core of a creature of mimicry, known as a silver tier. So the creature itself is known as a silver tier, and this is its core, which is a larval tier. Miyazaki, pick your battles, dude. As much a substance as it is a living organism. The creature or the core? Material required by the amber egg cradled by Renala, queen of the full moon, to birth people new. Renala's a weirdo. We'll run into her later. Being born anew allows the reallocation of attributes boosted by leveling up. It sort of is supposed to, I guess, look like a placenta or something in a way. You ever hear about those people that they have a kid and then they like eat the placenta? You don't need to. Like, you're not a wild bear out in the middle of nowhere roaring and jumping on people and using your whole body to extend the length of your hitbox longer than it should exist. You don't have to eat your placenta. If there's nutrients, I don't care. I don't care what it does. You don't have to eat your placenta. It's cooked by... No, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit that you flew Gordon Ramsay out to the West Coast, where you assuredly are living, to have him expertly cook your fucking placenta. Stop doing that shit. Anyway, hard stance on placenta eating. Don't do it. Probably. Not unless you're just like a homeless person and there's just nothing going on. Like, you fucking need it. Then, like, take your chances, bro. Like, there's not much I can tell you. Okay, I wanted to also very quickly go over to the Tower of Return, I think. Because I think there might be a ghosty in front of the tower that gives us a little bit. A very small modicum, a pinch of salt worth of lore. Which is to say, it probably won't even be worth my time, and I will not be able to even find it. If I had the ability to actually use Flame of Frenzy, which I have equipped, but I can't use right now, then I could absolutely shoot the shit. Let's cut that out of that group of sheep, which would be just lovely. Anytime that I see a big group of animals like that... There we go. I forgot about that little part. Well, are you guys gonna leave me alone? No, this one in particular, this guy right here. No, I'm gonna fucking get him. Are ya? Okay, anyways, the other ones are just like, alright, you do that, Bill. Are you serious? Another thing I've noticed about this game is, especially in the open world, this is bad. But if you are like fighting a guy that's right there, but there are enemies way off in the distance, and you press your lock on, it'll just lock onto them. I've had that happen as well with like birds. Like in the middle of a... Like I was fighting some giants yesterday, just trying to get... Because I leveled up a bunch more. I'm up to 58 now. I've been trying to get my faith and vigor up. But if you're in the middle of like... Let's pretend this guy's a giant. Like he's a giant of character, I'm sure, but... Let's pretend that he's also very large in posture. But I was like riding around him. He's now a corpse, but he's a giant still. Riding around him, and then I would be like trying to lock onto him. And instead of locking onto him, the camera would be aimed just enough that I would end up locking over to something that's way off in the distance, which in this case is these little squid things. But in other cases can just be like those birds that are on the cliff over there. I don't think it locks on that far, but it gets pretty bad sometimes. Okay. Let me kill the little squidlings over here, because I forgot that there's this mostly unimportant area. Speaking of which, that stupid... I really hate the dragonflies in this game. I really hate them. They are so goddamn annoying. They don't even really... Like, there's no lore associated with them. They're just annoying. I really wish that they did drop something, and it's like, completely unimportant insect is a dick for no reason. Okay, but yeah, there's a little invisible wheelie bug out here who's rolling up his poopy, and you can kill him, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Why is he here? Why is he invisible? I don't know. Some people have suggested, by the way, you can get gold fireflies here, which is, they're actually fairly important if you're trying to... Come on. There you go. If you're trying to make those gold pickled feet. Oh, I hate you dragonflies. Like, even if you're a magic character, this is probably still annoying. God, you're so fucking annoying. I hate these things. It's any enemy that like is like, no, the whole thing's about me. The game is about me now. Me. Everything stops. You're not allowed to do anything until you deal with me, even if it takes 5 minutes. Me. Like that. That really gets on my nerves. I know some people get really disgruntled with enemies that force them to use a shield, for example. Because they just want to look at an enemy, and the minute that they see it, they just want to hold down the sprint button and run at it, and then mash the attack button over and over and over again until it dies. And they don't want to have to think about anything else. Not that I'm referring to anyone in particular. There are some people that are like that. I'm not that to that extent, but if an enemy is just absolutely ruining your day because it's obsessing over making the whole LP entirely about it's the star for the next 5 minutes, go fuck yourself, random enemy. Especially if it's not even like a boss or something, it's just some random ass enemy. That's the problem with those little dragonfly guys. Okay, now supposedly there is a ghosty somewhere in this area, which I don't think it's anywhere near here. And Ghosty is supposed to communicate something to us. Although I do not see a Ghosty. Although I think I've seen him before, but I can't remember where I saw him. But either way, even if I don't find him, I think what he basically says is something tantamount to... Probably that asshole. Yeah, it's that stupid fucking asshole up top. The thing that he says is something tantamount to, no, not you. First, this dickwad. It's something tantamount to, finally I can return home. And that is somewhat important because... Hello, Dick Nugget. Give me my health back. Oh wait, I forgot I don't have that equipped right now. Okay. But this is the little chest of return. The chest of return. But this is the tower of return, and this is the chest that's on top of it. Hello. Are you serious? I'm the star. I'm the... Oh. Guys, come on. Fucking goon eggs are hatching again. Alright, now shut up and go away. Okay. The noble down there is basically saying at last I can go home, so presumably he is showing up here in an effort to get to this chest so that he can actually return back to the capital. So maybe the logic of this tower is that it is there specifically so that nobles can return back to wherever it is they need to be. So maybe this tower was built for the not only the sake of it being a lookout, but also as a sort of secret area that nobles could use to return to the capital whenever they saw fit for whatever reasons. So not much, but it would be something. There would at least be some modicum of internal logic to it. But we can't afford to pitch our tent here. Oh, there is a stake over here. A little statue of Marika. Well, I don't remember exactly where that little ghosty man is. And it's not terribly important either way. So what we're going to be doing today is going through, doing all the catacombs, then maybe splicing those in half with the Morne castle. None of these should take too long. Let's start with Impaler, because I actually hate Impaler, if I remember correctly. I think Impaler, it's really easy to get all these confused. I think Impaler's catacombs is the one where, I get attacked by a little dude right here.
I'm gonna trick him. Oh shit. That didn't work out the way I thought at all.
I think this is the one where the final boss is one of those silly cat statues, except there's like a million of these guys in there as well. Which is just a blast. I tell you, I hate this boss. If it's one that I'm thinking of. Okay, I will do that. And here's FromSoft trick number 1. As I said before, maybe one of their only tricks that they actually have. Spawn an enemy that's just down a long corridor inside of a big open room. Then they throw a bunch of items at you, and you have to go chase them. And then whenever you get close, then the enemy is coded to try to either do a clear-out attack that makes it back away, or it physically just turns around and runs away, because it really wants you to run forward and be attacked. This time by this dude. And this dude. Radical. Love this area. They love each other's company. I don't much care for it, though. Okay. So, that's progress. This is actually a dead end, but I'll show it to you anyways. I think there's like one enemy. Okay, just ignore me pressing the roll button. As I mentioned in the past, that's one of my problems with these little ambush enemies. Like there, I knew exactly where it was going to be. Press the roll button, but unfortunately, because their attacks come out so goddamn fucking fast, he manages to hit me anyways. Anyways, death statues, I guess. Just checking out the tomb. One thing I will point out, though, with Mr. Death statues is if they're down here actually building statues to the concept of death, either these things existed before because they were worshipping the demigod of death, or these things were built after the... how was it described? After the rune of death was stolen and then used in the Night of something knives, Night of Black Knives or something, to kill off all the demigods, which we will learn more about in the future. But this could have been built before or after. If it was built after, then the catacombs were mainly constructed, or populated anyways. The catacombs were mainly populated with stuff like this after that occurred, so that would be a little bit closer to the future. Not terribly important, but yeah. This is a Plague of Grives playthrough, so just random bullshit. Okay, so this is the one area. This is the only place in the game I've seen like this so far that actually just has an old school ass trap that's just kind of hanging out. And you can actually see little skeletons, little skelemen that are stuck up there. Throat's getting a little bit weird. It's supposed to be your little warning, I guess. So, there's one spot where you can actually go up and be safe. Now, you're actually supposed to notice, oh shit, the thing's going up. I'm not exactly a big fan of this trap. One, because the moment that you step on that, sure, you realize, oh, I'm going up, but you may not necessarily think, oh, this is a trap. You may think, oh, I'm on some sort of gigantic elevator, so you'll just stand there for like a split second. And not many, since the camera doesn't really go up that far, not many people may just whip their camera up immediately. They might actually start looking around for any doors or items that they may have missed, because their first thought might be, I'm going up an elevator, I need to make sure that I'm not missing anything that I will have to come back and get later. Or maybe I'm projecting. And then after that, you know, they might briefly see the spikes sort of come into their field of vision, and then after that, then they start to panic, and they're like, oh shit. and then they'll start flipping their camera around, and by the time they actually see this hole in the wall, it kind of just depends. Some people may see it instantly. They may be on the other side of the room, so they'll just start taking damage and they can't really prevent it. At least it's not a one-hit kill. That's one good thing I can say about it. The other thing I don't really like too much about it is, if you try to jump down here, I can barely make it. If you fall down and then try to run over there, then you probably won't make it back here. So it's kind of awkward trying to get back to the one safe spot you can get back to. Alright. I guess I can read the ghost stuff. The ghosty plants. If I can remember where they are. Wait. This acquisition. Yes. Great violet. Really? The little ghost, No? Huh, where's the ghost? Oh, it's in here. Oh, right. This is the stuff that you use to actually strengthen your ashes. It's kind of hard to come by, too. Not that bad, though. Let's read some of these, I suppose. This is number 1. White flower that blooms in catacombs. A spirit nestles close to it. Ashes which keep the renown even after death cannot be strengthened by merely corporeal glovewort. Now, why exactly this strengthens spirits, I don't know. Well, it's in catacombs, so it's associated with death in some way. A spirit nestles close to it. So for some reason, spirits will actually inhabit this glovewort. Oh wait, this is grave ghost. Ah, that's weird. There's a grave glovewort and a ghost glovewort. Each is a soundless bell used to summon spirits. Oh, strengthens renowned ashes. Okay, I keep forgetting that there's actually... It's like weapon upgrades, how the boss weapons tend to be special weapons, or even more specialer, so they require a special kind of upgrade material. Which I've always thought, it's kind of ridiculous. Just stop doing that. There's no reason to do that. Like, every weapon should potentially, I've harped on this, but every weapon should potentially be as useful as any other weapon, even if it requires a little bit more time to upgrade. So a boss weapon should just be a weapon. Like, there's no reason for it to have a very, very particular upgrade path. It's a completely worthless system. It does nothing. I know you want to choke point some of the weapons, but just have them, like, start with a slightly higher upgrade path or something. It's not that important. The art of strengthening ashes is known as spirit tuning. Only a spirit tuner may perform this deed. Ashes will keep the renown. The other can be strengthened. Okay. Spirit tuning is not merely the simple act of imbuing strength. It is an art that lies somewhere between tuning an instrument and conducting a conversation, leaving both parties enriched. Yeah. That must be good news for Roderica, because if she's doing that a lot, then maybe you would think that would cause her to, like, improve as a character in some way and progress some sort of quest line, but as far as I know, it has nothing to do with anything. Grey violet, purple flower, grass. The hue of a ghost flame, it's believed to be useful in calling forth spirits. Okay, well, actually, let me reset my item tab. Okay, there we go. Alright, onward. These guys are these annoying dudes that are like zombies, but they have that one attack right there, or they'll just run at you like a goddamn cheetah. Now, I just picked this up, but I don't have time to look at it just now. Prowling Pate, please help. And you can't kill all the guys in this room, they'll just keep respawning forever. But they do drop runes, so someone might think, oh wow, that sounds amazing. An infinitely spawning group of... No, they drop like next to nothing, so it's kind of just a waste of time. They can be kind of useful if you're trying to regenerate your health using the red assassins, whatever it is, this thing. Wait, motherfucker! Yeah, I can sell that. Don't you kick me out of my menu, son of a bitch. Assassin's Crimson Dagger. If you're using that, then they'll be kind of useful. Now, looky here. That bloodstain actually would have been pretty useful in that one case. I have noticed that the ordinary bloodstains are kind of... They're very spotty, because a lot of times they just won't appear. Although with these, there's something about the fact that they are consistent that's making them a little bit more useful. So having that as your, summony-womany, or, sorry, multiplayer way player, I don't know what I'm doing, is a little bit more useful. Now, I got through this without using any of my resources, and without having to actively heal, and this is exactly how I love playing this game. Now, unfortunately, I can't upgrade any of my dudes yet. And this might be a problem because if I'm right about which boss this is going to be absolutely infested with enemies. And I'm nowhere near having a level up upgrade. Okay, well, we'll just risk it, I guess. I'm used to doing this in co-op. Oh yeah, this is it. This is it. Which is a bit of a problem because there's just so goddamn many. At least in... Here. Attack... No, no, god damn it. Little miserable fucks. At least outside of multiplayer, they don't have obscenely high health pools. Stop locking up. Oh my god. Elden Ring's being kind of naughty today. Well, my summons did next to nothing. Motherfucker! Piece of shit. That's the worst part about this, is you have to spend so much time just clearing out those little dickwads. Meanwhile, this asshole is just warping across the room. Boom! 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 Oh, I'm sorry, were you in the middle of a fight doing something else? And of course his attacks are fast as shit, too. FromSoft's modern love affair with forcing everyone to use extremely small, fast weapons. Roll! The game is locking up for me because I'm recording. So that's the reason why I'm kind of frustrated with having to deal with this guy. But FromSoft's modern love affair with trying to force everyone to use very... Roll! God damn it! Stop locking up at the very second that I need the roll. Trying to force everyone to use very fast weapons. Because, you only get so much time after a boss attacks for you to be allowed to attack yourself. Nope. Oh, you want to do that? Fine. Bastard. Man, it took off like almost all my health with that one stupid fire attack, even though That's one of the problems that I have with the weapon arts. Not enough of them actually prevent damage. If anything, they encourage you to take damage. Like that one just then, yeah, it allows me to hyper armor through the attack, but I'm still taking the full attack. Demi-human ashes. And a lot of the ashes are exactly like that. Like the stamp, you still take damage, sweep still take damage, wild strikes, you still take damage. Although wild strikes is a little bit more reliable because it at least seems to deal quite a lot of poise damage. It depends on the enemy. If it's a big enemy, you're going to take a huge amount of damage trying to use this. Kick, same problem. Like, it relies completely on shattering poise. Endure. Endure is the one thing that sort of reduces damage, but even then, you're going to take a lot just standing there trying to use it. Ground Slam, sort of the same issue. War Cry. It forces you to do this very long wind-up attack, where it does the same thing. Spinning Slash, same thing. Impaling Thrust, same thing. Like, you get the idea. Like, everything except for, like, the ones that are obviously just, like, super dodges. Like, all of them basically just encourage you to take obscene amounts of damage in order to deliver comparatively a very small amount of damage. So, most of the time, with the weapon art, like the shield ones obviously are going to be defensive oriented. A lot of the time, with the weapon arts, they seem to be more made just for attacking very piddly enemies that you wouldn't need them for anyways. Me, I like to use things like that for a boss, but in most cases, as we see there, trying to use them against a boss will just get you into trouble. So, not next to worthless, but I don't want to do Earthbore. That's where that stupid fucking bear is. Let's see. Yeah, let's try to rotate around to this side. Let's do Morne next. I don't like Morne either. Actually, I think... I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, all of the catacombs or tunnels or caves or whatever that are in this area, I kind of hate. Like, they're all incredibly annoying in various ways. Ah, good. One jump in our table will do it. These guys are these misbegotten things. Yeah, see? More iron cleavers. Stupid looking face. Let me take a good look at you. Dumb looking motherfucker. Hate these things. I don't think I've encountered a single person that's like, oh yeah, those guys are great. Everyone hates these things. They're fucking awful. Anyways, let me use this. Let's stand right here so I can get myself in trouble when I try to exit out. That's no good. I like the tiny little lanterns that they put on the beams. Something about that is a little bit comfy. Okay. Look at this Attack on Titan ass motherfucker. That's exactly what they look like. Just incredibly stupid looking. But they definitely have this sort of human-esque face. What exactly they are, I have absolutely no idea. But if they are another subclass of demi-humans, then it would stand the reason that their name is exactly what it is. Just, they are demi-human. Don't! Ooh. In the recording of this stuff, the game loves to start dropping frames and lock up just as I'm about to do something important. I don't know what it is. It's like some sort of asshole video game spirit is watching, but like, now, do it now! And I don't appreciate it. Just like I don't appreciate this encounter right here. Because there are 3 of these horrible things. And I think that one is one of the ones that is more jumpy than the other ones are. So you can sneak up and backstab this guy. Even if you one-shot kill him, you still have the other 2 to worry about. Now, it's not really that big of a deal. But I think all the same. Actually, let me reorganize these. Because if you hold down the button, it defaults to whatever's in the first slot. But for some reason the game, whenever you start playing, it defaults the Flask of Crimson Tears to be over here. I forget what's even in this slot right here. I think it's just whatever you start the game with as your optional item. Yeah, it was the summons. Is the little imp summons. So instead of putting your healing slot first, they put it, like it should be like over here. That actually should have been over here, but they start the game with it here. So whenever you hold down that button and use that function, then it'll default to your summons, which is incredibly stupid. Anyways, firebombs. The crafting system, I don't really use item crafting too much. The way they've done this is very strange. You can't craft inside the middle of a fight, but you can, like, even though you can only carry so many at a time, you can just craft more of them. Like, say, if I can only carry 20 of these bone darts, for example. I don't remember what exactly it is. But I use all 20 of them. Oh no, I ran out. I'll just make more of them. It's almost completely worthless. I really don't understand why they did it this way. It's like they were like, we don't care how many of these things that the player has anymore. Just let them have every item in the game. Who fucking cares? And it's not allowing me... There it goes, finally. Don't you fucking dare. Oh my god. You bastards.
I heard you.
Yeah, I bet you did. So don't think too highly of the item crafting system. The way I prefer it... Golden rune. The way I actually prefer it... is... sort of like Dark... It's more like Dark Souls' idea of spells, where you can carry a certain threshold of them. Smithing stones. So, if you ever wonder what those golden thing... I commented one time that I collected a bunch of smithing stones that were gold items on the walls. That's what they look like. There's some more of them, right there. Mystery solved, right? What was I just saying? I got distracted by gold once again, as usual. I don't know, it's just gone, whatever it was. I remember. I prefer the way the items work to be, you basically have an infinite number of the item, but they're all back at base. And you can leave your bonfire, but only bring a certain amount of them with you. Like 9 or 20, it depends on what the item happens to be. And then once you run out of those when you're out in the field, then that's it. That's all you have. Which is sort of what the whole little pot system is supposed to be. Because I don't think I could make another. I just used a fire pot. I don't think I can... No, I can make one again. I was about to say, well, that's the one thing that is working correctly, because I thought that whenever you used one of these pots, then it was broken, and you just couldn't use it again until you went back to a bonfire. Which is not the case. I could just... use 6 of them in one fight, and then the very moment that I'm done killing that one enemy, then I can just go back and make 6 more of them. Which obviously was their intention, I guess. That's exactly how they wanted items to work in this game, I suppose. Just let the player have an infinite amount of them, but they're only allowed to use a certain amount in the middle of the fight. And before I do anything else, I can take care of this fucking asshole. I can hear him getting up.
I get to be annoying. I can't... Oh, shit, he came out early.
Alright. Open up the chest. Exalted flesh. So they're keeping around exalted flesh in this chest for some reason. I guess for a little treat later on. Commoner corpse. This is another of that generic shack model that was inside of the tunnels in another area that was from earlier in the game. Not much to comment on. They just seem to be generic shack models that are used for, like, storage. Supposedly, the people down here would kind of just live in the tunnels. So maybe that's what that's about. Large glintstone scrap. Yeah, I wish I could have more lore to say about it, but there's just not much going on. Here's a caved-in tunnel. Which goes to show maybe they're not so great at their jobs. Okay. Yeah, Morne tunnels sucks. The next room is going to be the one that's especially bad, though. Want to hear another thing that mildly gets on my nerves? I know you do. Motherfucker, don't you fucking... That's their bitch move right there. Like, they had this giant wind-up that also gives them, like, infinite poise, almost. Thankfully, this stupid-looking scythe that I'm using. Which, yes, this scythe is incredibly stupid-looking. Can shatter their poise, thankfully. Pickaxe. But they do get that one bitch move where they can just punch you. For free. Has almost no frame startup. They just can just use it whenever they want to. Every enemy has a bitch move. Pickaxe. Large pickaxe designed to crack thick bedrock. Tool of sturdy miners. Not originally designed as a weapon, but very adept at piercing armor. Little wretches, do you think your armor harder than stone? Who's saying that? I don't know. The game doesn't tell us, and the game doesn't have any illusions. So, let's just use our imaginations. Little wretches, do you think your armor harder than stone? I don't know if they're... I don't know if it's the miners that are talking, or if people are talking to the miners. Because the miners also have armor, like thick skin, which I'm guessing is related to them being miners. Like, the process of them actually mining is what has given them that thick skin. Staunching boluses. Well, there has to be a relationship there. All the miners that we run across are like that, and as we've seen before, items... Like, this is the problem area. Things in Elden Ring interrelate with one another. Like, the spirit or magic sort of intercorrelate with material things. Like the life that is inside of the sky is present there, perhaps as even stars. We've seen that it's true of meteorites, and those fall as actual physical items, which also correlate with magic and so on. So whenever it comes to like these miners, I would imagine that since they're in the process of actually mining smithing stones and being down here for so long, that their body is actually transforming into the rock that they're harvesting. Now, if there's any like overt logic to that, I don't know. Let's get rid of this asshole first. Misbegotten shortbow. Alright. I can't remember if there's a guy in here or not. No. Okay, good. Soft cotton. Okay. Hold on. Cotton makes it so that your footfalls aren't as pronounced. Yeah, here it is. Soft cotton. A soft but sturdy cotton formed from splitting open roa fruit, so the stuff that we find out in the open world, in a particular manner. This is stuff we also use, in theory, to feed to horse, to make him healthy, but we don't, because we're selfish and we don't care about that. Attaching this cotton to the bottom of one's feet allows for a temporary reduction in fall damage and sound. If you must court danger, at the very least, tread lightly. So, presumably, at some point, we will be able to craft this. This is sort of their hint that we'll be able to use roa fruit as a basic resource to create the soft cotton, to use as a consumable so that we can actually lower the sound that we're making. And also fall damage, but fall damage in this game is kind of stupid because it doesn't exist until it does. And whenever it does, you automatically die. So there's a very small amount of time, like just a few meters or like half a second of falling distance where you actually would take damage. So this item being used to control fall damage is kind of a waste. Just as well, there's a cat ring in this game that's also kind of worthless because it has that same issue. Okay, yeah, both of these misbegotten shortbows. Misbegotten shortbow. Why does it got so much hair all over it? Why don't you clean these things? Actually, I guess that's supposed to be the... I can't remember what bow the actual bow is made out of. Not the bow, like the string. It's not like literally just string. It's made out of something particular. There's a treatment to it that's particular, but I can't remember how it's done. Anyways, fine fur clings to it. Gross. Ew, gross. Fuck yeah, wait, yeah, fuck yeah. Designed to inflict additional damage by sacrificing range. Wow, if it's even short, like the short bow is next to worthless because it drops real fast. Like, you have to account for an extreme arc. It's like you're firing a boulder out of your bow. Like, it's way more pronounced than it was in the other games. I don't really hear anyone ever mentioning using a short bow. So if the Misbegotten short bow is even worse than that, then whoo, woof. Yes, my guns must be equipped. And I've gotten a couple longbow drops off of skeletons, Alpha Skelemen. They very kindly gave me their longbows. It's very nice of them. Longbow made to fire arrows over great distances. Compared to a short bow, arrows fired reach further and deal more damage. To use a bow, arrows must be equipped. That is one of the most basic item descriptions you can give. This is a longbow. It fires much further than a short bow, which fires shorter on account of the name. Oh, really? You don't say. It's pretty fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, it's something every day, you know? Hear that, Mr. Man? Hey, Miner, did you hear? Short bows fire shorter than longbows. Did you know that? Oh, you're killing me! Pretty fascinating stuff. Also, these little Misbegotten guys, there's something like annoying about the fact that whenever you hit them, after they go, like they try to attack you and they start tumbling around, just like rolling down a hill, just farting and crying because they're trying so hard, because they're murderous, but also they're stupid. And they're really ugly. Look how fucking ugly they are. They have these stupid looking wings too. Ratty ass wings. Yeah, you turn around, bitch. You turned around too soon, bitch. Oh my god. How unfortunate. Oh, now you want to... Oh, we see you now. Oh, did you? Did you hear the death throes of your winged ugly girlfriend? Too bad. At least they, like, grew feathers that sort of look like pants. You know, good for them. A little bit of modesty. Stupid looking motherfuckers. But the fact that, like, they run at you and they leap like idiots, and the minute that you, like, hit them when they're in midair, there's something about the fact that they tumble to the ground. There's a very particular animation, and for some reason that also annoys me. I don't know what it is. Like, just the fact that they are that pathetic, but they're also still incredibly aggressive. I project a lot of negative emotions on the video game enemies. Maybe there's something going on with me. I should see a psychiatrist and tell him all about how the Misbegottens kind of annoy me. And then whenever we're done with our session, he's like, you know what? Fuck those things. I hate those things too. I think that's perfectly normal. See you next week? No. You don't come back. So yeah, these guys... Oh, there's a lot going on with these guys. They have their weird Attack on Titan faces. They're very clearly human or human-like. These ones that don't have the wings still have, like, really gross, like, chicken nub wings that don't have any feathers on them. Like, they're very stubby. Either they are vestigial or they never grew in or something. But also at the same time, they have weird lizard tails. And also they have the same weird feet that we have noticed on other things in the past. The more that I have thought about it, the more I am developing the theory. Of course, I'm sure people that have played further in the game already know all this stuff, or are like, no, this is definitely not the case. Although there have been some people that have quote-unquote corrected me about things that I know for a fact are completely untrue. Turn, well, whatever. Yeah, dislike a video game. That's cool too. Okay, but anyways, the ones with the wings... Ew, gross. What the fuck? Well, why... Maybe it's because it uses the same model. But you notice this one, it has the weird, gross, like, chicken wing, but at the same time it also has an ordinary wing. I get the impression that that's because they're not bothering to animate this, but they wanted to use the same model. So it's probably that these are actually the same model, but this one just has an additional item placed on it for the sake of animation, so that's the reason why they look the same. But it's probably more intended that these are supposed to be the same wing, maybe? Did they only have one? Yes, they only have one, and it always comes out of their right shoulder blade. God, you guys are gross and annoying. I really hate you guys. And you got this weird... Ew, gross. Like, the more I look at them, ew, look. Look. It's got, like, a tail. It's got the dumb, like, dragon tail or lizard tail. Sure. Which, by the way, I think those scales might be facing the wrong direction. Maybe? I don't know. But also, like, its spinal column erupts down into, like, another tail that's coming out over the dragon tail. Gross. I don't like you guys at all. You're so disgusting. Okay. Well, that's done. That's done. We spent a lot of time in this area. I'm apologizing. I was just really bewildered by just how ugly these creatures are. I'm like that in real life, too. Whenever I come across an especially ugly person, usually in a Walmart, then I often have to stop and just stare at them for like a good 20 minutes. Just because I can't quite get over just how horrendously unfortunate their genetic structure is. Explosive stone clump. These guys drop this ever so often. Okay. And I think we've already read this. Yeah, smoldering cores that are stuck together. Miners employ these stones as a tool for rock blasting, but they have forgotten how to make the fucking things. Good for them. Alright, and this is it. Somber smithing stone. Number 1. I have been using this stupid wing scythe, and again, I hate the way that it looks. I don't have access to it yet. And by the way, this is going to apply to several people. I have made it clear that what I'm doing is trying to avoid actually accidentally screwing up any NPC quest lines. So I'm doing Limgrave very carefully, trying to complete that entire area, and then moving on to Weeping Peninsula. Then after that we'll move up into probably Stormvale Castle, unfortunately, which I really don't want to do. And then after that we will do the Lakes area, which will be extremely complicated. That's whenever the NPC quest lines start going absolutely out of their mind. And after that, I think we'll go over to whatever the hell the area is called. Karner, or whatever. The C-word. C-word land. The nasty red one. The nasty C-word land that's full of bleeding scarlet poison. Ugh. So all the people that are like, did you know that you can farm this one weird chicken monster for 13? Yeah, I know. Or did you know that ball bearings drop from specific bosses and you can just buy the up? Yeah, I know. I know these things. I can't do them yet. If you know about the ball bearing things that allow me to just buy the upgrade materials, then you would also know that that's in the Lakes area, which I can't have access to yet from the way that I'm playing this. Hell, I've even showed you that I have the damn things. I've talked about it in the prior playthroughs. Why are you even... Like, it's baffling. People trying to quote-unquote help, but at the same time, they're like, I didn't bother watching. I wasn't paying attention. Whatever. And I'll reiterate that I hate the upgrade system. Actually, being able to buy the upgrade materials does not fix the problem, because the upgrade materials are outrageously expensive. Like, even after you get to the point where you're able to kill random chicken monster with a bow for 13k a pop, that's still enough for, like, buying a single upgrade level, like up to +3 for one ordinary-ass weapon. And that's not accounting for the fact that you have to increase the price even more for the second upgrade material, then for the third, then for the fourth, then for the fifth, and so forth and so on. Like, the cost of actually upgrading weapons in this game is obscene. So imagine trying to do that for every single weapon in the game eventually. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I reiterate my point that being able to buy the shitty rocks for 600 or whatever runes apiece, which is laughable, in no way, shape, or form fixes the problem at all. It assuredly does not. If you could upgrade a weapon all the way to +3 for like 500 runes, then yeah, maybe that would be alleviated. But again, that's more a problem with the upgrade system and the fact that you should be upgrading by class as opposed to each individual weapon itself. But anyways, point being. For the time being, I'll be using the wing scythe. I want to eventually use the halo scythe if I'm going to be using a scythe at all. Because the halo scythe looks way cooler. Like, this is just a stupid pile of shit. This looks like something some little dork kid would be using on Halloween. My scythe is like angel wings. Oh, is it, Billy? Be sure you don't break it whenever you're waving it around. It's probably made in fucking Taiwan. Looks like it would shatter the very moment that it encountered a little bit of rain that hit it. Yeah, Halo Scythe looks way cooler. I've been trying to look up different faith weapon options, and most of them are incredibly late game, or there's a lot of int scaling, intelligence scaling swords in the game, like way too many of them. I don't know what it is with FromSoft and absolutely obsessing over intelligence scaling on weapons. There's not many faith. There are faith weapons, and most of them are mediocre. And the ones that aren't especially mediocre is still kind of just okay. A couple of them don't have any requirements other than faith. And there's like 3 or 4 other ones that do require other requirements. I think I have enough dexterity and strength for all of them, if you're including two-handing. Except for like one, which is unfortunately one of the better ones. It's like I think it's a straight sword. A blasphemous, I think its name is. But unfortunately, it requires a very high amount of strength to be able to consistently wield one-handed, which is kind of how you want to wield it. But that's something they'll be worried about much later. But until then, like, Wing Scythe is one of the very, very few weapons that are even remotely an option for faith users in this game. There's actually quite a few weapons that actually do scale okay once you put sacred ashes onto them. And of course we won't be able to have the option of turning any ash into a sacred ash until way later on. So that's not an option either. I'm going to be stuck using the same 3 or 4 options as far as ash goes for a long time, which is another flaw with this game. You shouldn't be locked into something that simplistic and boring for that long. But most of the scaling that you're going to get, like Lucerne actually, I looked it up. If the wiki is actually accurate, the Lucerne actually is an okay faith scaling weapon. It scales all the way up to B in faith, if I'm correct. And it's scaling off dex and strength, I think, still remain either E's, or it might actually have a D in dex after you scale into holy damage. So that'll be an option, I guess. Maybe. But I have not really been impressed with any of the options that I've been finding. But anyways. Something to worry about in the future. Now, in multiplayer, this guy is obscenely easy. It's just another one of these guys. This is the guy that I got that silly axe from. He rolls. He do a Sonic. Go get him, boys. Stab him in those nuts. Oh, fuck you. Stumbling moron. Fuck you, piece of shit. Wasn't even aiming at me. Still managed to hit me just because his arc covers his entire... like he's a fucking owl. His arms are owls. That's the lore of that guy. They can 360 around his whole fucking body. He's just so strong. I get annoyed so easily with things that I perceive to be mildly unfair in games. Rested anchor. Oh, maybe the fault lies in the stars, not ourselves. Nah, it's probably just me. It is a little bit weird that I get so irate with being hit, though. Which is, you can tell that's the reason why I don't like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, because you're supposed to be hit. Rusted Anchor. This is an okay strength weapon, if not a ridiculous one. A rusty anchor wielded as a weapon. Each of its 4 flukes is thick and sharp, enabling piercing attacks. That... wow, would that never work? I mean, sure, if you're lucky. Maybe if you just swing it just so. It's one of the reasons why scythes as a weapon... like, as I mentioned before, people did sometimes use scythes in combat. But if they had no other option, they would... like, if they were farmers, they would take off the head of the scythe and then reposition it so that it was facing not towards them, but, you know, towards the enemy. And they would use it as sort of a makeshift spear. It worked very poorly, but, you know, it could sort of hurt someone. And of course, if you had a farming implement like that back then, it was a prized possession. You wouldn't just break it and go buy a new one at Walmart like you do these days. The scythe section of the Walmart. They did upkeep them with the same degree of quality that someone would probably upkeep a sword, so it's not as though they were dull or anything like that. But if you use it as you would in a video game, with the blade actually... the blade of a scythe faces inwards towards you, right? And that's because you're actually supposed to use the scythe by, like, grabbing a head of wheat and then pulling the blade towards you so that you can cut it. Like you're using the leverage of your own body, blah, blah. So in order for you to actually cut someone with a scythe, you would actually have to reach your entire weapon around their body, or, like, reach it behind them. Which already most of combat is decided by your range. So the idea that you're actually outstretching your entire body, like 2 body lengths past them, means you would have to beat them essentially twice or 3 or 4 times over just to be able to have the reach to injure them in any way at all. And then pull the blade towards you, which potentially could also injure you as well if you're not careful. So the same deal is working with this stupid rusted anchor. Oh, you can deal piercing damage. You can't deal piercing damage with this. What are you gonna do? Throw it behind them and then try to pull it through their back into you? This is another one of these video games. Yeah, enables piercing attack. Yeah, okay, sure it will. When the Tarnished left the lands between... by the way, that's what the name of this area is. Like hell, like Lordran. In this one, it's the lands between, I guess. Which very rarely comes up. What exactly we're between? I don't know. It could be metaphorical in the sense that the lands between are like between life and death, or something silly like that. Or we could literally just be the lands between other continents that other people went to live on. Because remember, people supposedly left the lands between, which I guess back then it would have been called something else. I don't know. This land would have been known as like the land that's sort of in between all of them, I guess. Like fucking Europe. Or Atlantis. Like Atlantis would be the lands between, I guess. With the whole idea that it's sitting somewhere in the Atlantic. Anyways. When the Tarnished left the lands between with their lord, whoever it happened to be, I guess, one boat alone was said to have been left behind. Ooh, what? When the Tarnished left... what? What are you talking about? When the Tarnished, like all of us, or like me? Like when me, the player, left the lands between with my lord, or whenever the... what does this mean? One, don't all the Tarnished actually come from lands that are not the lands between? Like, isn't that the logic? That we actually come from the other continents and we're being sent here to the lands between? So when the Tarnished left the lands between, but I've never been here before. With their lord, who is my lord? Is it someone else's lord? One boat alone was said to have been left behind. Left behind where? In the lands between? In the continent that we came from? And what does this have to do with the anchor? It's the, I guess, the boat that... But if it... like, wouldn't it just be like one big boat then? But then why does some random-ass, nasty guy in a misbegotten demi-human in a random cave have it? Oh, whatever. I'm not... Some people have said that this game is like really badly translated. I kind of believe them. That item description is just a mess. I'm going to look at it again just so I can be angry about it again. That sounds like fun to you guys, doesn't it? Rust anchor widow's weapon uses 4 focuses thing to sharpen. Yeah, I'm sure they do. When the tarnished left the lands between with their lord, one boat alone was said to have been left behind. So maybe the logic of this is that the tarnished are not tarnished because we're people that can't die. Maybe the tarnished were people that ages and ages and ages ago, before everyone left, something was wrong with us, supposedly, and we were described as being tarnished. And that's whenever everyone left in this diaspora to these other lands. And then later, like eons later, we're like dead, but not actually dead, we're still alive. And then we were sent back. So actually we are from this land, we just haven't been here for centuries. And the boat that was left behind was... this anchor belonged to that boat or whatever. That's the best logic I can make out of it. Holy shit. Alright. Enough of that. Tombsword, yes. Tombsword catacombs. Let's go ahead and do this. Get this out of the way. I really wish that they would... I really wish Miyazaki would stop obsessing over these like, dungeon catacomb areas. I know he thinks that they're a great way to add content to the game. They're really not. If you can't tell, I've already gone ahead and opened up the little imp statue area here. Because this was the gentleman that I was... Not this guy. This one, this is the guy that I was actually farming for the big knife weapon that I'm carrying around. And it got really annoying. Here's the imp statue. The hell's that? Oh, it's just this skeleton. Okay. It got really annoying having to run in here, kill this guy, which I eventually learned to use my weapon art to give myself, not on this weapon, but I was actually using the one that I was using last part, to deal sacred damage to just incinerate him with one hit. And he would always end up like backstepping over here, or whatever. And if he dropped anything, I would have to be really careful not to pick up whatever this was. Ah, Nomadic Warriors Cookbook. Oh, that's certainly got to be worth the lore. I can't wait to read this. A record of crafting techniques left by roaming nomad warriors contains knowledge for surviving the face of utter scarcity. Acquire the knowledge to craft the following rancor pot. Surely fascinating. Thank you, Miyazaki, for this lore once again. You know, supposedly George R.R. Martin had some hand in writing this. I sincerely doubt that. Like, I imagine that they just wanted the name attached just because, you know, marketing. And if anything, he probably had some very short advisory role in it where he's like, oh, that sounds good. Maybe if you had, like, maybe you had some incest. And they were like, no, no incest. Oh, alright. And then he went back home to sit in his shack and think about writing, and then not do it. And that's what his input was. That's probably what happened in my mind. But on the other hand, I kind of imagine that if he did have more input than that, like all this Elden Ring nonsense, which I sincerely doubt. It stinks in Miyazaki. There's no way that George wrote all this nonsense. Bitch. Bitch! Little motherfuckers. You're gonna get it bad. Go ahead and use it again. No. No, you're not gonna use your fucking bitch dagger move that takes up like 5 frames. Little cunt. Hate that shit. Motherfucker. Okay. Arrow. 5 arrows. I don't like being hit. I just don't. But if George did have some degree of like control on, I kind of imagine the reason why so many areas of this game are just completely dead in terms of lore. It's probably related to that. Like oh yeah, wow, I'm so used to that. I'm so used to like walking through here and there being an imp clinging to that, because one of the other ones, since all these areas look like the fucking same place, I'm just really, really used to them all having the same layout. Go down. Okay. But I imagine that they might be related. Like, Miyazaki maybe didn't want to impede too much on the overall story that George had some input with, so maybe that's what was going on. So that's the reason why that so much of the core story is sort of localized. But then there is huge stretches of the game where there's just nothing in terms of lore. Come on. I don't want to have to fall off this thing trying to... There we go. And it's been really freezy today. I think I'll close a few things. Oop. There we go. Turn this off. Okay. But yeah, I get that impression. Like maybe... Like a lot of the basic item descriptions just have nothing going on, and maybe the reason why they have nothing going on is because Miyazaki didn't want to infringe on anything. And there's like 3 different kinds of classifications of lore in this game. There's the main lore, as far as the main quest line and the main story goes, and the main concepts. Then there's the nothing lore, which is like the fucking cooking manuals and most of the weapons and mostly everything for that matter, because so much of it is just, it's not even fluff, it's just nothing. Just, this is a weapon. Here it is. Enjoy. And then there's the second category, which are like isolated quest lines, or things that are very encapsulated, that don't have any effect on anything around them. And very rarely you'll see those. And those are the 3 classifications. Okay, so one thing I'm going to try to do here, get all these naughty gentlemen to spawn. There are way too many skeletons in this cave. Trigger this. Don't you fucking roll, bitch. Rolled through it. Not supposed to activate that fast. Okay. Yeah, you can do this. I notice in co-op, most of the players that I play with are very, very stubborn, and they don't want to... They just want to like fight the skeletons as soon as they appear, which I can't blame them, since they can't see that there's a huge number of them in this room. A lot of them will just fight to the death. But yeah, you can just spawn them all, run back, trigger that trap, and it'll just automatically kill them for you. Thank you. I'll go ahead and say it. The pate ones are not as good. Oh yeah, when did I pick up the please help one? I don't remember picking up the please help one. Twisted clay sculpt in the shape of a human head. Barely. Emits a voice that says, please help. Whistle fetish, then parts voices and words on an eternal journey. Twisted clay sculpt in the shape of a human head. Emits a voice that says, thank you. More amazing lore. Thank you, Miyazaki-sama. I'll go ahead and put hello. A lot of people like using these. I enjoy using them too. Did you really have to have teeth coming out of the eyes? Look at that. Like, it has that silly grin, and then it has like an extra eye up top, but then one of its eyes is also a mouth, sort of. That guy had a rough time of it, but at least he seems happy with himself. Don't you dare fall off. Trying to get those things to trigger is a little bit wonky. I usually try to send it back down. There we go. So I won't have to deal with it later. And there's nothing up here. Completely empty room for some reason. And then there's a naughty archer. Frumpstrolf's doing their one trick again. There's a ranged guy. You better run in and attack the ranged guy. But then there's a guy behind you. You've never seen that before, have you? Yeah, I see it literally every 5 minutes in your games. Think up a new trick. Okay. And if this was... I can guarantee that if instead of skeletons, they were the little angry statue catmen, little goblin dudes, then I can guarantee you, as soon as you walk through here, there would probably be like one just right here that would be scripted to be like, wee, 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 and then just start attacking you at like 1,000,000 miles per second. Like, he has like 1 or 2 tricks, and he just keeps repeating them. And it doesn't fool anyone. Everyone knows his tricks. But unfortunately, because everyone knows his tricks, he has to put them in such a way that you can't get out of them anyways. As I've mentioned before, he will, even if you see the dude, usually you'll take damage anyways. I can't remember which one is which on this one. I guess I'll find out. Oh yeah, the annoying cemetery shade. This guy is either incredibly easy, or sometimes he'll start warping around. He's another enemy that kind of just loses his mind. Wow, that's a lot of damage from me. Wow. Wow, that's embarrassing, Cemetery Shade. He did not like holy damage. Which is kind of funny, he gives you one of the best summons in the game. Luthel the Headless. Wish he had a head. Having a head is usually cooler than not having one. Not a big fan of Dullahans either. Especially not in pornography. Like, yeah, okay, they can suck your dick and not have a body. Wow. How erotic. Got anything else? Is that it? Okay, great. I shouldn't be talking about these things. Legendary Ashen Remains. Used to summon that guy. Spirit of a Headless Knight who leads the Mausoleum Soldiers. Wields a lance enrobed in death. Oh, does he now? Wait, the lance is enrobed in death? And hurls spectral lances at foes. Which is a ability that you can get later on. I was actually trying to get it on my other character before I had to restart it like episode 3 or whatever it was. I eventually got it. It's okay. It's not great. Okay, it's a female, okay. Luthel sacrificed her life so that in death she could continue to protect a soulless demigod until the revival, earning her the hero's honor of Erdtree burial. Okay, so during the night of Black Knives, I think? I can never remember what it's called. The Rune of Death was stolen, and then utilized in such a way that it allowed demigods to be killed, finally. And as we've learned, it was then imparted upon the roots of the Great Tree, not the Erdtree, but the Great Tree, whatever that is. And that is what is causing people to be revived as ghosties and as skelemen. So Luthel here sacrificed her life so that in death she could continue to protect the soulless demigod, which would be the demigod of death, who I believe who I believe still has their body somewhere, but doesn't have a soul in the body. Which would then stand the reason that there might be someone else that has a soul but no body, maybe? Considering that this game loves parallels. Until the revival, earning her the hero's honor of Erdtree Burial. The honor of Erdtree Burial. Maybe... No, that wouldn't make any sense. I was thinking, maybe there's a distinction between, in the catacombs, maybe there are some catacombs that are, like, good catacombs, because they are enemies that... There are enemies in there that are serving the demigod of death, and then there might be the bad catacombs where they are spawned from the corruption of the rune of death, and the corruption of the great tree roots. But then I realized, no, this area still has skeletons in it. So, and skeletons are the bad kind. If this area had had the weird statue things, then I would have definitely considered that idea. Because I don't know if those statue things are, like, good or bad. But as we saw, that summon was buried with some sort of honors, like an Erdtree root burial, so I guess buried in such a way as to encourage them to persist as a summon. We don't know how summons are made yet. And we have seen that summons can be things that are not alive. Like the little imp guys that I have are actually, I think, just statues, ordinarily. I don't know if they're actually alive in any meaningful way. Okay, I've done that, done this. Treasure America, and Tombsword Cave. Then the only thing left after that will be the horrible, horrible, horrible Runebear Cave. Oh yeah, this one. And Morne Castle. I might just do Morne Castle. Maybe I'll do the bear off screen. I hate that fucking bear one. I already fought the bear earlier anyways. Okay, so this place sucks. It's another one of Miyazaki's getting hard for swamp areas that he's fucking in love with. Yeah, he just loves being an asshole. The fact that he makes those things track you because he wants you to roll. Because whenever you roll, you get all this shit all over you, and you can't get it off. Which makes it persistently build on you, regardless of whatever you do. I get so irate with Miyazaki and his moronic love with these dumb swamps. They're usually not even hard, they're just not fun. They're just shitty. Thankfully, this area is Get up. Thankfully, this area is potentially very, very short. Come on, pick it up. Toxic mushroom. Ah, you sons of bitches. As I was trying to avoid. Motherfucker, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I did it. I told you I would murder you, and then I did. Keep my promises. Okay. But the way to the boss, the fastest way is just right there. Well, you will learn very quickly if you do this area in co-op. I've never really explored this area down here. So may as well. It's probably going to be shitty. Oh boy, rats. My fucking favorite.
It's us again. Can we suck your dick?
No. Oh, great. A big rat. Let's just do that. There, okay. Wow, I bled his his corpse as he died. Amazing. Immunizing white cured meat. That's new. There it is. Okay. Now go back. Oh, this is so annoying. Immunizing white cured meme. Meat meme? A white cured meme. You don't want to watch those. There's nothing funny about them. A white sliced meat, which, that sounds really disgusting. You know, there's a breed of chicken that, in addition to being completely black, its eyes are black, its beak is black, its feet are black, and its meat is also black. Like, everything about it is this complete... There's some sort of weird mutation. It's one of the grossest... It's completely normal. Like, there's nothing overtly wrong about it. But it is... You look at it and you're like, oh, not that. Like, you could be told that it's absolutely fine, but just not that chicken meat. Not that completely black, pitch black chicken meat. Dried out after pickling in a green medicinal solution. It boosts immunity. Lasts longer than traditional cured meat, but with reduced effectiveness. Okay. Let me try to remember what the hell immunity... I think it's just for rot and everything. I'm glad that they roped all these things together now, instead of having, like, resistance to poison, resistance to scarlet rot, resistance to toxic, resistance to bleed. Like, most of them are looped together now, which I think they finally learned their lesson that no one uses this incredibly particular system that they keep insisting on. Although, robustness is for blood loss and frostbite. So robustness is pretty important, immunity is somewhat important, mainly for scarlet. Like, each of these has a very, very particular one. Like, immunity is for scarlet rot. It'll work on poison too, but poison is not that big of a deal. Robustness is for blood loss, because blood loss is fucking crazy. Frostbite is also really nasty. So robustness is pretty important. Resistance to sleep, as we covered before, sleep is almost impossible for players to actually use. Like, you have to have a very, very specific kind of intelligence build. I think later I'll come across a torch that I might be able to use. Resistance to death, and I don't think that it is possible... Come on. I don't think it's possible for all players to inflict death on people. Nomadic Warriors Cookbook. I'm sure this is going to be a delight. Can't wait. Here it is. A record of crafting techniques, slip around memoirs, acquired knowledge, craft the following, poison grace, draw some... Okay. It's fascinating. Okay, a minor correction, if you're using Flame of Frenzy on my bar here, which I, again, still can't use because I can't get to the round table yet, which I'll get to in a second. If you use that, it actually just causes an obscene amount of damage. And I'm... Oh, for God's sakes. Another fucking giant rat. Go on! Get out of here. Thank you. It causes just an intense amount of damage, so even though it is not actually a buildup of the death meter, it does effectively kill you most of the time. Of course, I haven't really gotten to use it much, so that's my inexperience with it talking. Hello, nasty little plants. Ah, good one hit. That's what I want to see. These little plants are such dicks. Mainly because they spawn in these gigantic groups, and they'll just keep doing that until you get poisoned. Which, after that point, it's almost kind of relaxing getting poisoned. Whoa, hello. Because once you get poisoned, there's nothing they can do to you anymore. Like, what are you going to do about it? Okay. Stop freezing, video game, please. I really need you to concentrate right now. Okay. And I think we're pretty much here. So I don't think I need to worry about poison anymore, because we're right here at the balls. Here we are. Okay. I'm just going to let the poison ride itself out. And of course it immediately opens with its strongest attack, because it is a dickwad. Get my battery back up. I'm just going to spam the shit out of this. Aha! That's fun. So, Viridian Amber Medallion. And you would think to be nice in these poison areas, that after you get through doing this, it would just heal your poison, just for the sake of, you know, being kind. No. No, because it's Miyazaki we're talking about. Like an ordinary video game designer would do that? Miyazaki, no, that's a chance for him to laugh his ass off. Even though he can never actually see it. He can probably load up the data and be like, people still die. Like, even now, you get transported back, it's not going to heal you. It's not going to do you any favors. Fuck you. Go to hell, is what Miyazaki says. He loads up his data to where he can look at the figures of people dying right after defeating the boss and be like, and just do that like a little goblin. That is the kind of man he is. To our detriment or pleasure. Let's say, Viridian Medallion thing. Unfortunately, there are, I think, anytime I see something that looks like this, or this, like these amber medallion things, which I guess there's also green amber, which we have seen on the top of, what's her face? Selen, Sorcerer Selen. On top of her head, on her helmet, she has, I think, green amber, which apparently is associated with your stamina for some reason. A medallion with Viridian... I'm not saying those things are necessarily correlated. That may not even be green amber on top of her head, just... I have seen green, and it looks like amber. That's all I have to go off of. The Erdtree's old sap becomes amber. Okay. Treasured as the most precious of jewels in the Age of Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. So during the Age of Godfrey, that's whenever it was still leaking sap. A primordial life energy resides inside. Alright, does it say the same thing over here? Yes. So, blue amber comes from space. The other colors of amber... Well, all amber contains primordial life. It's just that sometimes it may also be drawn from space in some way. Which, considering that the Erdtree is a tree, maybe it, like, absorbs the life that comes from space or something. So they may not necessarily be different things. I have no idea, talking out my ass there. It's just things that I'm considering as I'm thinking about the weird way that life and amber and sap and everything works in this universe. Well, either way. Oh, by the way, you probably can't see it too clearly. Hole ahead, yes. There is a big hole right here that, if you fall down inside of it, will drop you into a big pit of angry rats. And, fuck those things. Pickled turtleneck, no lore there. And here's where the fucking summoning thing is, way down over here. Again, I really don't like the summoning pool system, the way that it works. I like the idea. Like, again, this item is great. Being able to just initiate this effigy to put your summon sign wherever is absolutely fantastic. The problem is the placement of them and the fact that you can miss them. And how they're almost exclusively tied to catacombs. I really don't like the focus on dungeons in this game. I don't think that Elden Ring might end up being my most played game just because it's the most modern. I definitely feel like I would enjoy Dark Souls 1 more, though. Golden Rune 1. Like, there's just a lot of... It's just that the rhythm of this game I don't really like. Like, the focus on catacombs is a big one. I don't like that at all. Whenever you're out in the world and you're free of the catacombs, because the catacombs are just like shitty repeating dungeons. And when you're out in the world world is just massive, but also sort of empty. And even that aside, they're still large enough that you can get lost just wandering around, so it's kind of unsatisfying to explore. Because not only is there nothing inside of it, but whenever you do find something, it feels like you just kind of stumbled on it, and you'll completely forget where it even came from in the first place. Wake up. I'm gonna be an asshole and come over here. Trying to fight this thing fairly, not a great idea. Easiest thing to do, lure him over here. No, come here. Use your nightmarish Elden Ring aggression. And he can't get up here. Works better if you have a weapon that can actually break its stance. Ugly ass motherfucker. That's the easiest way to cheese out that enemy. Of course, if you're a magic user, you can just walk in here and just pew, 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 and all your problems go away instantly. Because Elden Ring is a little bit too obsessed with magic. Unfortunately, I will not be able to use magic until I actually gain access to the roundtable because there are no talismans for me. I actually might end up getting a talisman in Stormvale before I get one in the... Or I might get one in Stormvale before I get one in the roundtable, which is kind of funny. So some kukris down here. And a glowstone. Nice. So human bones. They're eating human and animal bones, for that matter. This one looks like it belongs to a horse. Why there was a horse inside of a cave, I don't know. I'm going to be liberal about it and assume that these rats killed something and then dragged it inside of here. Which is not really rat behavior, but let's just ignore that. Let's just ignore that. Because stuff gets wild. Okay. More silver fireflies. Important item. If you're a multiplayer doing co-op and you come across this cave, you definitely want to use those. Okay, this is... as far as the early catacomb bosses, like Limgrave and Weeping Peninsula, this is easily my least favorite of the bosses. I absolutely detest this boss, and we've already encountered it. We fought it at the very beginning of this playthrough. Is that giant stupid bear, and as we saw before, it loves to attack relentlessly. It's very fast. Its attacks come out very fast. It occupies so much space that it can just fall on you and deal damage. It has insane tracking, so even if you're like circling around it, then it will still like pivot on a fucking record player and hit you anyways. It is just a shitty, unfair enemy. And a lot of it just comes down to just face fucking it until it dies. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. Okay. Unfortunately, I think that makes it so that I can't actually use my little dudes. I think. What do they cost? What do they cost? 50. How much do I have right now? I have 60. Alright, good, good, good. And also, since this thing, it doesn't start the boss fight until it wakes up, which I will give them credit. You can at least walk in and then immediately walk out after you see how horrible this thing is. Which most of the boss fights just trap you. So that is one benefit. But unfortunately, it turns off your ability to actually summon your little dudes in until the very last second. Because it will immediately start attacking. Haha, swallowing butterfly. Oh, fuck off. Free fucking damage just from being a fat ass. So the easiest way of dealing with this guy is actually utilizing your summons. Like, I hate that it cannot even, like, fucking aim at you. It's just lumbering around like a dumb jackass, and it still can actually manage to hit you as a result. Roll! Hate this big fattest. Good thing I'm over-leveled. This is the main reason why I wanted to over-level in this playthrough, so I wouldn't have to worry about this garbage. Go on, get out of here. Held on by like 1 health point. On the slim hope that it could inconvenience me just a moment longer. Hate that enemy. On my other character, I hopped up on this thing, and I think I'll maybe even do it again. Wonder what this one says. Now it's just one of those stupid giant butthole ones. There's tons of those. But I really hate this enemy. Do I have my point down? Where's my point down? Do I not have a point? What the hell? Oh, no, here it is, here it is. It's kind of easy to get lost in these. Let's see. It's like, the reason why I don't do this typically on footage, because I have to sit here and think. Therefore... No? What was it? Try... It's like try suffering is what actually was. If I can find it. Try suffering. Because I basically let sit on this is what I was trying to communicate. Fine, this was always beast, no beast, seek beast, first off, likely beast, try. I really wish that you could pair words together. It gives you these, but it seems like you could do that in Dark Souls too. But it may have given people too much control. Maybe misremembering that, though. How about... Could this be a wretch? Do I have that still? Actually, is there just bear? I don't think there is bear. It's kind of strange. They have, like, so many particular descriptions. People, things, battle actions, situations, places, directions, body parts, affinities, concepts, phrases. It doesn't have animals, though. That's so strange. Is it in things? No, it's not. Well, there are, like, there's, like, bug is in a thing. Yet it's not an enemy. This... The way that they organize these things is so bizarre. Monstrosity, ill-omened creature. Now I wanted wretch. Order, chaos, suffering, good fortune, hope, despair, victory, revenge. What's your favorite part of the LP? Mine's one where he spent 50 minutes trying to create a message and then gave up. Regret, resignation, revenge, tranquility, ruin, dregs, affinities, only piercing, striking, body parts. Wait, hold on. I'll just give it the good old... Yeah, here we go, here we go. Of course. Let's do it this way. Probably things. Where's hole? You know what I'm doing. Where's hole? Is it a place? There it is. It's at the bottom, like a hole? A hole is a thing, it's not a place. Try suffering. There we go. Now where did the world was suffering? I just had it. Try suffering. There we go. Try suffering butthole. Pointing down right here. There we go. This is the good stuff. You just ignore the other person's message. They don't matter. Try suffering, butthole. I like that. These are my favorite kinds of messages. Like the ones that are just like check left or whatever. Yeah, those are useful. But I like it whenever people can use creativity to try to communicate things that the message system does not want you to be able to communicate. So this has been my favorite message that I've left so far on my characters is this thing that looks like a big dildo just so happening to be here in this bear's cave. Just enough so that I communicate the idea of go fuck yourself. Trina's Lily. Okay. Remember in the prior part, there was a little ghosty guy that was like in this area, and I was like, okay, I already know where this is gonna go. But the old man ghost like very slowly paces his way over here, and then points his way into the Earthborn cave. Which obviously the implication is go avenge me, or something to that degree. So, in theory, this would be his corpse, or maybe this one. I guess it depends on which one is your favorite. Which decrepit, nasty old man is your favorite? Left or right? That would be the old man. This one is... well, they're technically the same one, but this one's more of a presenting state. He really wants you to get up in there. Considering that they are corpses and not actually... considering that they're corpses and they're not actually... like skeletons, it seems like the bear is kind of just an asshole that likes to kill people, then drag them off into his cave. For really no reason. He's not going to eat them, he just likes to have them. Because he's a piece of shit. I'm glad he's dead. Like, what's this thing? Blythe. He can be angry if he wants to about the fact that I'm killing bears, which apparently is a thing. Like, if you kill one in particular, up in those ruins, up in Mistwood Ruins, then apparently he gets angry at you or something. He can deal with it. At least that one. I will avoid killing that one for now. But these dudes, no, they're gonna get it. Okay, let's go ahead and empty this into Faith. It's nice when everything's rounded out, you're almost to a rounded out level. We're at 59 right now. I think that the next thing, I'm going to keep trying to level. I need more mind eventually, but I can't even cast right now. So I think I'll try to keep pumping Vigor, actually. Alright. I've done this level a lot, so forgive me if I rush through it. But once we're done with this, we will be done with Weaving Peninsula, I'm pretty sure. Oh, by the way, I was running around this area trying to figure out where that... I thought it was like an Ash of War that I had missed, but I rechecked the wiki, and it's like, no, there's nothing there at all. So I think I just double marked something, and I already activated that. Like, accidentally double marked something and didn't realize it. Okay, now up there, you should start seeing some damage numbers appear. You can actually hear them fighting. And you can see their spears clipping through the geometry because FromSoft games are flawless. And ever so often, one of those enemies will actually get knocked off the edge, and you'll have to deal with them. Although it doesn't really happen too often. But the Demi-humans are up there actually still fighting Godric soldiers. And of course, if I get Godric and Godfrey confused, just from talking, like, I know who they are. Well, I know who Godric is. Godfrey is another character, at least I know. I think Godfrey is his father? But it's just because their names are so unnecessarily... Really? It's because their names are so unnecessarily similar. Okay. Now, I think to be safe, I don't want to use up my FP right now. Well, I don't want to use up my ability to summon, anyways. Throwing dagger.
My butthole. What saucy young lad is throwing daggers at my butthole?
It was me. It was always me. Now, if you're in co-op, it's pretty common for people to just run up here and just attack all of them at once. and then they'll just let the host deal with the consequences. Which is not exactly cool, but that's what happens. I guess because most people just forget that consumable items exist, or they don't want to bother. If you're using like a bleed build, especially if you're using a strength bleed build, which is kind of miserable, the bleed meter, or the statuses in general, I guess you could also be like a poison weapon, like who bother uses that shit? The status meters on enemies go down really, really fast. And if you're wondering, these guys seem to be celebrating their victory over the humans. I'll save that asshole for last, since he is a cheap asshole. I was saying something, then I forgot it. Well, it didn't really matter. Okay. Well, you notice that they have a gigantic pile of corpses. Like, it's pretty easy to just walk over this and not even think about it. Look how many. Like, presumably this is textured in a weird way, but it looks like this is meant to be like nothing except for people. Like, this is probably like a football stadium's worth of human beings after it's all said and done, since most of them are like ash or been reduced down to very tiny skeletons or whatever. So the fact that they have actually completely wiped out this population and piled them into this gigantic, like really just like a holocaust of human beings is almost like laughable, because it's so comical. Or, not comical, you know, just how incredibly fucked up it is. Why this guy in particular is tied up, I don't know. Maybe I'll get a closer look at him whenever we get up there. But he is wearing the commoner's outfit, which includes that little, I don't know, bit of neck gear that a lot of them wear. I don't know what it is. Take off my daggers. Alright, let's try to be careful about this one. Oh no, almost all of your health. How unfortunate. How did that happen? I love being able to do that to enemies that I know are a problem. Because if you actually try to approach that guy normally, especially if you just aggro all of them at once, oh, it turns into such a mess. Because those enemies are so aggressive. And they have lots of unfair moves. Okay. Gather my butterflies. Now let's take a look at Mr. Man. Which I'm not allowed to, because, like dogs, I'm not allowed to look up. Okay, is there something unique about his face? It is hard to tell, because I can't get a good angle on this. If I can only... This is as high up as I can look. It does look like there's something unique about his face, but I can't tell what it is. It almost looks like he's wearing a mask or something. Or maybe that's just his beard and it's really fucked up. There's some like translucency to his mask that's also making it hard to see. God damn it. Maybe here? Well, this is better than nothing, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be a beard. Either that or it's like supposed to be his skin that's been torn off his face or something horrific. And his legs have also been chopped off. Considering that his legs are chopped off, this has to be a custom model that they used from the basic commoner model. So there has to be something unique about his face, and I'm really curious what it is. Maybe I can... No, he's too high up, I can't clip the camera into him either. Ah, that's super frustrating. And I can't move whenever I have my stupid telescope out, for God knows what reason. Oh, this is so... Ugh. Yeah, I'm tempted to say that you can see sort of his bare skull or something. It is extremely difficult to tell. You'd have to like take him into a model viewer and actually look around. But I'm tempted to say that he's a commoner. He doesn't look like he's dressed in any sort of noble gear. But why in particular that one guy got it the worst, I have no idea. But you can tell, like, even though there's that big pile, there's still corpses strung all over the place. This pumpkin guy did not help. Like, we've seen pumpkin heads, two charged R2s is usually enough for these guys. We've seen the pumpkin head guys be allies to Godric soldiers. So why exactly that one was just sort of sitting there, I have no idea. Maybe the idea was that he was injured, or he was exhausted. Don't know. As far as the actual... This is supposed to be the courtyard of the area. So, of course, lots of trees here. Although, even the trees look like that... Maybe they have been... Then maybe all the trees look like this, though. I was about to say they kind of look like they've been incinerated to some degree. But that's not necessarily true, because everything in this world is kind of mildly fucked up. But some things to consider. I think we're done with this area, though. And we can also see that here's some, what are they called? Palisades? No, not that. Let's just call them barricades. That have been erected in an attempt to try to, I guess, stave off the invasion as it was happening. Something's going unused, though. This should be a claymore. Claymore? A large sword with a long, straight blade. This heavy sword is usually wielded with 2 hands, but for those with enough strength, 1 is sufficient. In addition to the heavy sweeping attacks, it's also a hand-and-a-half sword. It can also make a heavy, piercing thrust, making this a versatile weapon. And by the way, for you people in the comment section, yes, I am also tired of hearing about how flails aren't a real weapon. Does anything like that? Like, just let us have this. Now, you couldn't really see because it happened so fast. This guy was, like, crouched down. And this guy was, like, celebrating because he's a dickwad. And this guy was, like, presumably about to execute him. Although this guy was at full health anyways, so, but it communicates the story anyways. So they tried. They definitely tried. So the weird thing about Morne Castle is that the story here obviously is, long ago in the past, as we saw in that memorial. I'm not allowed to access my map right now. But at that sword memorial that's right outside the front gates, it was talking about how Godfrey, at one point besieged this castle as a lone, vengeful person, or something like that. Oh, I hate that move. Tried to resist them for the sake of revenge. Anytime an enemy has a roar move that causes damage, I'm very annoyed by it because it's one of those unfair moves. You can't do anything about it. If they choose to use it, they just choose to use it. Old Fang. I don't think I've looked at an Old Fang yet. Old Fang. I have 10 of them. A rarely seen specimen of Beast Fang. These multiple overlapping fangs grow from a single root. Perhaps they're a vestige of the primordial crucible. I really wish that they would stop using terms like that, because they almost don't mean anything at all. Steel wire torch. I like getting new torches. They're fun. Torch wound with metal wire. The flame can illuminate dark locales or be used to attack enemies. Heavier than a normal torch, but the heated filament boosts fire damage dealt. So, since I am using a faith-based character, I should be able to also use fire damage, and also maybe lightning damage. I can't quite remember. Although all that is pretty far off, and just to show it, there's nothing actually over here, for whatever reason. And if you look through, this is one of those things where you can tell they're just reusing models. But these little slits are for the sake of shooting arrows through them. But if you look inside, you know, there's nothing. It's just, it leads to a completely, it leads to a wall. It leads to more stone. So one of those little, very minor art oversights. I'm not going to gripe about it, but, you know, just, it's there. Now, I took the long way. You remember that there was also another path that was right next to that pumpkin head. And that's where that led. There's nothing down there except for that one guy who's hacking up a dead human body. So you can sneak up and kill him. But other than that, there's nothing down there. It's just a ladder that leads up here. So if you've already cleared out this area, then you would take this path. And it's much faster. Okay. This part's a little bit annoying. Because no matter what... Because no matter what, those two dick nuggets are scripted to go attack you no matter what. Even if they can't really see you, or shouldn't be able to see you. You have to wait for these guys to fire their... What? Motherfucker! Get your ass down here. Oh my god. Get your ass down here and stop spazzing out. Okay. Those guys are always scripted to attack you no matter what. So like the very moment that you sort of even cross that threshold over there, then they'll both pop out and go to attack you. One of those cheap-ass ambush areas that Miyazaki loves so much. There's a waypoint over there, but we won't bother with it just yet. I wonder how many people are left alive up here. There's one winged dude. Is that it? Did they really all die? Yeah, they all died. Golden rune. One thing I never actually checked. I think her name is Arena. Should be my key items. Ugh. Yeah, here it is. Okay, good. I was about to panic because I wasn't sure if I could find it. Letter given by Arena, addressed to her father, the commander of Castle Morne, which is where we're at now. Gorgeous silken handkerchief, lightly stained with blood. Words can be made out within, so you can't actually read it. Just, I guess your character is just too nice of a guy. And here he is, not bothering to help. It is very strange that there's this gigantic pile of bodies. Like, that is laughable how many corpses there are. So presumably the entire population of the castle has been completely obliterated. And they're all piled up there, but the fighting is still going on. Like, people were being executed over there, there are people fighting over there, there's people fighting down here. And you can see over there, there are also some basic foot soldiers, which are... Yeah, there's some of those guys that were over there. That have been strung up here, being executed. So they're everywhere, like you can see. There's just people that have been hung all over the place. Which is funny. Like, obviously this is something that has been going on a long time. But yet they're still fighting. It doesn't really make any sense. Unless it's some sort of thing where the soldiers are somehow able to revive. And they're putting up a fight anytime that they pop back up. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Because the logic that those are just the last soldiers that are left alive is a little bit farcical. But Elden Ring is a little bit farcical itself sometimes. So let's talk to Mr. Man. Let's take a look at him first. Something to note, his little oven mitt gauntlet on one hand. I appreciated that little bit of realism. Because you want your actual weapon hand to be armored enough to where, like, if a weapon rides down into it or something, you don't lose your fingers, or it doesn't ride into the, like, in between your digits, because that would be a really easy place to, if not lose a finger. Like, it's one of the reasons why whenever you see boob armor on women, like fantasy boob armor, that's a bad idea, because the curvature of the chest piece would cause weapons to ride directly into the sternum. Which is why a more realistic version would be to just wrap the chest and have it be ordinary chest armor that tries to move hits away from the body. So whenever you see armor, you're like, huh, I wonder why it looks like that. Most of the time, it looks like that because you're trying to design the armor in such a way that it's usable. You can actually move in it. But it's still curved in such a way that whenever a thrusting attack hits you or a striking attack hits you, that it tries to direct all the energy away from the body. So having your little oven mitt hand is one of those little things. I always thought that was neat. Also, he seems to have a ball sack. No, I'm just kidding. It does sort of look like that, though. Actually, let's look a good look at his pathetic face. Kind of an interesting color of hair. It's almost kind of golden in a way, but it's also very low saturation. But he's very despondent because his castle is all fall down.
There's a face I've not seen before. I'm Edgar, warden of this castle, as ordained by Lord Godric himself. But you can see how things have turned out. The menials have all rebelled. They gave me good service, or so I thought. But it seems it was all an act. Foul creatures, as it said. And true enough, they're foul inside and out. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but whatever you come here to do, I'm afraid Castle Morne won't hold much longer.
What do you mean it won't hold?
Take this by way of apology.
I think his days of holding have long since passed. How a twig. Maybe the twig is like an indication that they are, like, reviving or something. Maybe if he handed out sacrificial twigs to all of his knights, maybe that's the reason why they're able to revive or survive death. Like, the audacity. The castle won't hold much longer. Look at this place. There's a gigantic pile of corpses down there. Everyone's, like, strung up, dead. There's maybe, like, less than 20 actual soldiers here left fighting an even smaller number of enemies, for that matter. We won't hold out much longer. Yeah, I'd say not. So, give Rena's letter. By the way, he said... Oh, what did he say? As ordained... I think he said by Godfrey. I think that he says as ordained by Lord Godfrey himself. Which, if Castle Morne was taken by Lord Godfrey sometime in the very, very distant past, then this would be... Like, most of the ruins you see, like the rubble, probably could have just been here for a very, very long time. It's just been that way. I kind of doubt it's something that was caused by the Demi-humans. I guess it's possible. But either way, I was going to point out that maybe the emblem on his chest, which I don't know if it's intentionally supposed to just be half of an emblem or if that's the whole thing, could be the emblem of either his house or it could be Godfrey's. I have no idea. Because it does look distinct from the Godric soldiers that we've been running into. So.
Thank you. I mean, you're dead, but I can't leave yet. Even if the castle should fall, as commander, I must remain to ensure the treasured sword of Morne does not fall into the wrong hands.
Okay, so... he doesn't want the sword of Morne to fall in the wrong hands. I actually am not certain what the sword of Morne even is. Whenever you defeat the boss of this area, it does drop a sword, which is a ridiculous Dark Souls kind of sword, because it's just a bunch of swords taped together. But the boss has it, presumably. So hasn't it already fallen into the wrong hands? If that is the Sword of Morne itself, which maybe it's not, I don't know. It could be that it's a completely unrelated sword that I have just never found in my playthroughs. Which I kind of doubt, considering how paranoid I am about such things.
If you see Irina, do tell her that her father will come for her once he's fulfilled his duty.
That duty. Okay.
If you see her father...
Okay. I think I might take a little bit of damage. No, that's not too far. Okay. Alright. I'm going to do something that I've never actually tried to do. I usually just bum rush this place and just get it out of the way. I don't really like being here. It's not too bad. But the Demi-humans, the misbegotten or whatever they're called, are extremely irritating enemies. But as soon as I mark this, I am going to go back to the bridge and try to find her. To check and see if she's alive. Because she was just kind of just hanging out here, completely on her own, surrounded by a bunch of messages that were like, oh no, tragedy. Yep. Ugh. Ugh. Welp. And even though it is a larger version of the one that you're able to hold, actually I'll just show it. It is one of these things. Iron cleavers. See? Iron cleaver. Iron cleaver. Although that one's way bigger and much bloodier. So it's your clear indication that the Demi-humans found her. And even though she's just some blind lady in the middle of nowhere, they ended up slaughtering her too. Although we don't actually see any evidence of any Demi-humans around right now, besides the same dead soldiers that we ran across when we first showed up. I love this message. You think so? Are you sure? Although it does look like, to like amplify the cowardice factor, the fact that she's lumped over in this direction makes it, and the sword is like thrust here. It almost makes it clear like the enemy hit her from behind. Like the Demi-humans are actually that cowardly. That it's just some innocent girl that is blind and helpless and unarmed sitting on a rock, and still their impulse is to like run up like cowards and hit her from behind like that. Just fantastic. She is merely pretending. Okay, so now that we've discovered that... I know this is one of my problems with this area. If I warp here to behind the castle, we will quickly discover we can't get back up. As far as I know. Because you can get over using that, or you can get over using that little area right here. But there's nothing over here, and there's no ladder. And we can't use horse. Maybe... Nope. If you try to jump up here, you slide right off. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Almost got to do something. But point being is, the intention here is that once you're down here, you're trapped. So if you want to go talk to Daddy Dearest, you have to go do everything all over again. Which is profoundly uncool. I see absolutely no reason why this area should be designed like that. That is ridiculous. But of course, because I want to try and see if there's anything unique about his dialogue, I want to see if I can tell him that his precious daughter is kaput. I absolutely need to go talk to him. So we will do the fastest thing possible. Really, there's not that many enemies in between. There are the dogs. We can skip the big area with all the enemies in it. The big corpse pile. You can go around that pretty easily. And remember there's that faster route that I talked about that has one enemy in it. And just go ahead. Just to be safe. Send that back down. And then there's like a couple of enemies up there, but that's about it. Try to get them while they're barking. God damn it. Of course they're dogs, so they have to get in like a million free hits. Aha. They really want you to roll around dogs. Like, that's supposed to be their main counter. It's because they roll like crazy, you have to like wait for them to attack and then roll, and then they'll probably try the attack again, then you roll again, and you just keep doing that until they eventually get themselves in a bad position. I've never seen these guys actually drop a weapon, but they do have that big hammer. I don't know if it's something that you can actually get, though. The ones with the flail, obviously, they can drop something, though. They drop their flail, believe it or not. Fascinating how that works. Up we go. It is kind of tiring seeing all the snake messages next to ladders. Like, okay, yeah, we get it. So, enemy number 1. Ugly attack on Titan ass enemy number 1. Who does this? Like, who just sits around cheering at dead bodies for like hours? They only come down enough for you to actually hit them after they fire their arrows. Alright, that is done. Now back down here. I'm going to be mildly aggrieved if it turns out that Father Dearest has nothing at all to say. Thankfully, since they're fighting each other, we can probably just run through the area and be fine. He said, knowing fully well that eventually one of the enemies would turn around and chase him. But we'll see. Oh! He's gone. He's just straight up gone. Interesting. I wonder if he is over here now, then. I know that he goes here after you do the area. Like, after you are able to actually finish off that one enemy. No, he is not. Okay. I've never seen that before. Interesting. I'm glad I checked that. It's not a major development, but still interesting all the same. Okay, we'll finish off this area, and then he will move. And then we'll be done with this part, and then we can move on with our lives. The world is full of tragedies today. It's nice to be able to move on with our lives. Not that Elden Ring wants us to do so, but maybe we can all the same. Okay. Now, one thing I did want to mention, don't take the stone sword key. This is down here, by the way. There's actually 2 ways to drop down. The other one is like inside of this area. Don't do that. That's the bad touch area. And these guys, you can actually just run around them. They don't even notice that you're even here. I'll talk about them in a moment. But you can fall down and actually get accosted by this guy. There's also a slime over here. Because Miyazaki just loves laughing his ass off about slimes. Attack, please. Takes a while to get rid of these guys. Pickled turtleneck. What's the lore of pickled turtleneck on this random guy inside of what appears to be a prison cell? I guess that was his last meal. He was just chilling out. Okay, but there is also a ghost in here. Thought I heard something. There's a ghost in here. A ghosty ghost. Who seems to be... He's not wearing the commoner outfit. He's not wearing a noble's outfit. He's using one of those outfits that is worn by the guys that accompanies the nobles. Whatever you exactly want to call that. Aristocrat outfit? I can't remember. Please help me. I'm of noble blood. You shut up. I just hypothesized that you weren't. If those hideous mongrels eat me, I'll be forever marred. Anything but that, please. Think of the disgrace. So I think the clear implication is that he was eaten. Also, I'm so glad that we're finally getting something that is an approximation of lore. Note here, there's a bunch of like desiccated and burned bodies, and these also seem to be like noble bodies, but some of them do still have these. What are those? They look like the like arm locks that people wear around their necks, and then you put their arms inside of them to lock them in place. It's kind of hard to tell how bad a resolution it is. So maybe that thing that guy that I said looked like a commoner corpse was wearing, maybe that's what was going on with him. But presumably, once they had basically conquered the castle for the most part, they were bringing people in here to hold to be eaten, I suppose. Or that seems to be the case. It's kind of hard to parse together what exactly is happening in here. Use my lantern. I'm so glad I had this lantern. Like, this guy is not... Oh, really? Forgot about that. You can actually put down glowstone, and it will have the light persist. Like, you can tell from this guy's face, though. Yeah, this seems to be what was going on with the other guy's face, too. And he has the same model. He has the same, like, lopped-off feet model. So this is probably what that guy's face was meant to look like. So there wasn't really anything going on. He was just really, really badly disfigured. And his face was just really fucked up. So I guess he was just a victim of torture. Which is no surprise there. Actually, this, considering all the little implements that are hung up here... Now, these are probably, like... You can interpret this as either being tools of torture, or they could also just be meat hooks. I'm more inclined to say that they're meat hooks. Although there are wheelie wheels up here as well. Which may not mean anything. Guy hung up in a cage up here. This is a soldier, though. That's the corpse of a soldier. I appreciate it, FromSoft. Even though you haven't been doing it, you actually put some degree of care into the general lore of an environment. See, this is the reason why I prefer the areas that are not big open world areas. Because whenever they actually have to design, like, a level, it's kind of the same problem I have with Breath of the Wild. Not it being lore related, but, you know, just... Whenever they actually have to design a level, then it's a design level. And you can feel it, and it actually feels like a Zelda game. And the same thing with this, is it actually feels more like a Dark Souls or whatever style game. Whereas when you're in the open world, you're kind of just... There's just nothing there. And these guys... You probably don't really pay too much attention to it, but... They are very clearly shaken, despondent, something is wrong with them. Now, if you aggro them, they will fight back. Which is the reason why I'm just killing them. I'll demonstrate here. Yeah, very angry. So it could be that they are... like, experiencing PTSD. It could be that they are experiencing some sort of weird after effects of devouring people. Or maybe there's something else going on. I would actually like to think that it's not something fantastical, and that it is just a result of, like, post-traumatic stress disorder. Mainly just because it paints the demi-humans as still being human in their own way. And having emotions and having done something that they either regret or something that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. It actually gives them more character. Whether if it's something like, oh no, it's actually the soul of blah blah blah, and it's influencing them down the path of blood. And if it's some dumb shit like that, then whatever. You know, like it's lore, but it doesn't really mean anything. If I'm likely to die to anything in this run, it's probably going to be to this guy up here. Because you can't sneak up on him. The very moment that you cross the threshold of these stairs, he will attack. Ooh, barely got his poise. I'm glad I landed that jumping R2 early. Yeah, this guy kills a lot of people. But these are the guys that, I got that big axe from. These are the guys that drop it. Something that I was going to mention way earlier in this video is... You notice these guys have these sort of like chitinous, almost scales on their body? And we've read before how beasts in the wild sometimes will grow horns where they shouldn't have horns. And also we've run into like the blacksmith, not on this character, but before. And he also has like weird growths on his body that look like horns. And I think we've also run into cases of some bits of item dialogue talking about wanting people to become dragons or trying to change things in the dragons. Like these guys sort of look like that. They look like human beings that someone has been experimenting on trying to turn into dragons. I'm not saying that's the case, it's one of those things I suspect. Also, we like to play with this corpse. He's so light. Look at him. He looks like a dancer. Got such a body for it. If only he had gone down another road, he could have been on Broadway. Look at that jiggly tail. It's like it's stuck in the geometry of this rock pile. So it's like he's a electric potato or something. Like he's just generating a constant stream of dance energy. Good for him. Now, the path forward on this area is, I would say, pretty well designed, because the path forward is actually that. But it's probably not your first instinct to go jumping off of ledges. You probably think that this is the path forward, but whenever you get up here, there's absolutely nothing up here except for this one chest, which has a Twin Blade Talisman, another one of these F-tier talismans. Although I think the Twin Blade Talisman is actually like one of the better, one of these more generic ones. A talisman depicting a twin blade and a confessor. Enhances the final hit of a chain of attacks. The twin blade technique is a tradition of the confessors, who closely guard the secret of how they preserve the momentum of their attacks. Thus, is the final strike of their onslaught all the more deadly. Great. Who closely guard the secret of how they preserve the momentum? Like, they're still using a human body. Is it really that much of a secret? We like pivot on our heels. Whoa, don't tell anyone. How mysterious. Shut up. Okay. So that's that. I would like to look... Hold on, let me look a little bit. Like there's sort of more to the area in the sense that... Like there's more geometry, but there's nothing really to look at or to talk about. And then, of course, out here is this, like, ocean. The stuff that you're seeing over there is the Tower of Return. But again, just nothing really to look at. This is probably one of the better areas that you could take a look at the external geometry. I can't say that the layout really makes a lot of sense. Like, why do they have this... I guess they just wanted a tower for the sake of having a lookout, but... Like, that's the main castle. Like, that's the main castle, and this little warp point right here behind the castle. For some reason, that is the only way for you to get to this area. Like, there are no doorways, there's... And then there's just this other part of the castle, for some reason, that seems to serve no purpose, other than it, I guess, being a jail. So maybe that's the idea, is it's very difficult to get to. And this is where the unsavory business actually goes down. Maybe the reason why these guys were shaking is the implication that these demi-humans themselves used to be prisoners. And they were the ones that were being tortured. So whenever the uprising actually happened, then they were freed, and then they turned on their captors. They turned on the nobles, and then began to eat them. It is interesting that the process of this guy being devoured, I think that's an implication, is what is the thing that turns him into a ghost. Like, he can't let go of the fact that he's already dead, and that's the reason why he can't return. He's that attached to life and his status of nobility. So maybe that's my little internal logic to these dudes, is that they are still shaken up from being prisoners. That's a little bit better, because all the other ones don't seem to be too shaken up about warfare. They seem to be pretty into it, in fact. Just having a good time tooting their horn over being naughty. Cheering for hours on end. Tarnished golden sunflower. I think we already have quite a few of these, but... right here. 29 of them, yep. Large flower that blooms facing the Erd tree. Oh, really? It always faces the Erd tree. Okay. Material used for crafting items. Since they said that, I'm going to be an asshole, and I'm going to be looking around to see if any of you don't do that. Found near minor Erd trees. Though wilted and faded, it still retains holy essence. I don't think ever actually seen an ordinary golden sunflower. I've only seen the tarnished ones. Don't need any replenishment of my flasks, but this guy is here just in case. Which is nice of them. Game, stop locking up. Okay, nothing to see over here. If you look down, it's just a cliff facing that goes into nothing. In fact, you can even see where the fog is clipping. It doesn't look great. Not as bad as some Dark Souls 1 areas, though. Some of those unfinished things that you're not supposed to look at look really bad. Now, what exactly this area was, I don't know. Now, we sort of deduced that maybe this is the place where the unsavory prisoner stuff was going on. And you can see more gallows down here. But these are where the humans are being hung. You would think that any area like this that's right next to the sea would be for the sake of being like a port. Like for welcoming in ships or something. But there's no docks in the area. So what exactly the point of this building was, I don't know. Maybe it's just video game. It was just for the sake of it being a video game. Or you could just say again that it's just supposed to be some sort of lookout. Which is a little bit unsatisfying of an answer, but it is an answer all the same. The more perplexing one is why exactly would they build this... Like, this is so stupid. Like, if you think about it, like, you can see the boss right there. The boss is just standing there waiting for me. Like, sure, right there is a big drop-off into the ocean. And right there is a big drop-off into the ocean. But the idea that they would build this gigantic walled-off stone archway to prevent people from going onto this little bitty island when someone could just probably, like, almost jump. Like, they could probably just jump over there. Or even just, like, float over there on a plank of wood or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a little bit ridiculous. But we'll talk more about what's over there. So maybe that tree, maybe this stone that you can see over there is what's most important. And of course, again, this is an area that is completely unreachable outside of video game logic. Urns of some sort. Here's a place that you can drop down. Again, video game logic. I'm not sure why exactly this opening would be here. Either way, we won't think about it too much. Damn it. That's what I was trying to avoid. You can miss the second one. You can't miss the first one. Oh, I hate rats. Oh my god. Great. I really hate rats. Rats and dogs and bats. All the animals that just dodge to one side. Thankfully, there's like no enemies in between these 2 points. Okay. Yeah, I really hate how if there's a group of rats out in the open, they know the like sidestep dodge. It's ridiculous. So you can just run past these guys. They're just gonna sit here and have the shivers. We'll let them deal with their inner demons. One thing that I was going to talk about today, and I haven't really forgot about it, but I haven't found a place for it, is actually talking about invasions. Because I really haven't been in the open world. I've been doing all those stupid catacombs today. But I'll talk about that at the very end, I guess. Alright, Now, to be careful, to be extremely careful. In doing co-op with people, video game, I hope you guys could see that, it trying its best to lock up. I have seen hosts, I guess, trying to be cool and just rush off the edge and kill themselves. Roll. The timing on landing and rolling is not great on this game. It's different in every one of the games. In Demon Souls, I think it's like as soon as you land. Whereas in Dark Souls, it's right before you land. You have to input it. This guy also got the shivers. A whip. Alright, so this is another indication that this may have been some sort of torture area where people were taken to be executed, or demi-humans were taken to be executed. So another indication that even though what's-his-face, fucking Billy, whatever his fucking name was talking about how the demi-humans love to work under us. You can tell that either his right hand didn't know what his left hand was doing, or he's just straight up lying. Or he's just so used to the practice of treating demi-humans like trash that it was just something that was beneath his concept of what was considered to be evil. Now this is another problem area, because this guy is here as a trap, and even if you... Don't you fucking dare. Ugh! Even if you do time it correctly like that, this guy sometimes will do exactly what he just did. And jump up and run over there and hit you before you can do anything. It's fantastic. I love it. I fucking love it. Also, here's a ladder. But if you want to save time, you just drop off. It doesn't fucking matter. And there's nothing really over here. Item ahead, you say? Item ahead? Liar head. There is this one thing, though. Single somber smithing stone. So if you... Which is useful, because I think the weapon that we're about to get is a boss weapon that uses somber. So there's that. There's a ton of little crabby boys over here. We'll kill them because I'm an asshole. And then there's a big crab, but also item over here. Crabs are huge assholes. Because of that, their attacks are very fast. I usually prefer just to face fuck them, because if you actually try to use logic and reason when you fight these crabs, then it usually doesn't pay off because they just ignore it. Crab eggs. Because I'm lazy, I'm not going to bother using my resources to heal. Why would I? To make you happy? Certainly not. Here's some fire arrows that you find sitting in the middle of water, so I'm sure they work just great. Now, what's the lore of fire arrows being down here? I don't know. It kind of looks like a guy fell from up above and landed in here. Like he was maybe transporting something, fire arrows in this case, and then fell. Although, since I really wish they would get off this whole you can't raise your camera up nonsense. I really don't like that. It means I have to run all the way back here. Okay, now I can see it. But you can tell that that path goes all the way up there. It's actually that thing that we just jumped over. Although, why exactly would someone be up there in the first place? Who knows? I guess the most logical thing would, up there, because there were weapons up there. Maybe he, fell off and then fell down here. I have no idea. Anyways, it's a little secret area you can find fire arrows at. Also, here's some poopy. But you think I'm joking? No, this is shit. You ever wonder where medieval toilets lead to? Leads to a shithole. Maybe. Actually, it's probably not shit. I'm just being fun. It could be something else, I guess. Although it seems a little bit too particularly placed. And it doesn't look like it's supposed to be the remains of blood or anything. Unless it's demi-human blood, but I don't think their blood is green. Pretty sure it's red. And I can't remember if anything's over here or not. They give you quite a ways to run around. But yeah, it just ends here. So, this is death. Nothing here. Now, this is another one of those areas where the game gives you an NPC summon, but still allows you to summon in your little buddies. Which is super cool. So here's where he is. Whatever the fuck his name was. Edgar, that's what his name is. What do I call him? Billy? Yeah, this is Billy. So Edgar here was all about how the demi-humans loved working under us. But as we've seen from the placement of all the jail cells and the PTSD monsters and also the whip, most likely he was not treating them well. A leather whip, not originally used for combat, but as an instrument of pain. So even the game is like, yeah, it was torture. Though its supple attacks, really supple, cannot be thwarted by parrying or even guarding, it is incapable of dealing critical hits. So, no riposting or anything like that. So we'll summon in Edgar, who I guess the reason why they moved him is to prevent you from actually doing what I was trying to do, which was discovering her body and then running back and telling him about it. Which honestly, by the way, I love his weapon. Like that is actually a weapon. Like it's not a ridiculous, it's not a ridiculous Dark Souls weapon. It actually looks like a real ass halberd. I really like the look of that. I wish there were more weapons like that in the game. The ones that are in the game, usually FromSoft is like, yeah, but they're shit. Those are basic bitch weapons. You want the stupid looking ones, right? Look how stupid it is. Oh, it glows and it has swords all over it. It's so stupid. It's the best. S-class scaling, right? But yeah, I wish that I could use the more reasonable looking weapons. Okay. Why exactly they had her killed at that flag, I don't know. You would think that they would flag her death to be once the boss is dead. Because, you know, why would you have it be that early? It'd be more convenient for it to be like this, but I guess there's more storytelling in that regard. Because the fact that she dies that early is really selling the idea that he could have prevented it if he had left earlier. Alright, off we go. Let's try not to die. No promises. People love to try to style on Leonine Misbegotten. I don't know what... I guess just Leonine is just... It looks like a lion. Stop twirling. It's rude. But people love the style on this enemy because it is easy to stagger. And also because it does have pretty... somewhat reasonable attacks. Okay, you can really fuck up this guy. This is another one of those bosses where it's obvious that the game is designed as a co-op game. Goodbye, Edgar. I'm sure that we will have some words for you later on. Alright, so Grafted Blade Greatsword. Whether or not this is explicitly the Sword of Morne that he's talking about, I don't know. Where is it? So many things now. The Storied Sword, yeah, so this has to be it. I've never bothered reading its description. It's so asinine looking. Like, I know FromSoft has this logic of, if you just get superhuman strength, then anything works, right? It's so dumb. It's just a bunch of fucking swords piled together. Do I really need to explain why this wouldn't work? Like, it would work. In the same sense that instead of using a normal sword, you just tied a bunch of toothpicks together, like really sharp toothpicks. Like, it would still work, but... Anyways, the Storied Sword of Castle Morne, a Revenger's weapon. Now remember the monument the monument outside said that Godfrey... I'm confused because there's a Godfrey, there's a Godric, I think there's also a Godwin, and I think there's also another God character. It's really bad. Okay. But the monument outside did describe Godfrey as besieging this castle a long time ago against one person that was out for revenge. Although it was not stated why that person wanted revenge or against whom they wanted revenge. But this weapon is a revenger's weapon, so it would stand the reason that this is the weapon that was used by whoever the leader of this castle was before it was taken over by Godfrey ages and ages ago. In theory. It is burdened with oceans of anger and regret. Yeah, I can tell. A lone surviving champion from a country now vanished was so determined to continue fighting that he claimed the swords of an entire clan of warriors. That is so goddamn stupid. They actually created a monument and a few bits of lore pieces just because they wanted to have an asinine-looking sword that had a bunch of swords on it. That's what this is. They're like, oh, he's gonna look so fucking cool. Oh my god, he's gonna look so cool, dude. Oh, dude, he looks so cool. And they had that reaction. And then they were like, well, we need to have some sort of explanation. Like, oh man, Miyazaki's like, oh man. Oh, he's probably some dude that was like, he was fighting the big dude, but he didn't want to lose. So he like tied all their swords together. And then the entire rest of the whoa! Oh my, oh dude, you're gonna put that in the game? Yeah, dude. I don't think much of weapons will look like this. They're just really fucking stupid. Like, I know I'm a little bit too Spartan, a little bit too pragmatic, etc. A little too conservative in the design department, but come on. Like, if you show up and you're wielding shit like that, are you really gonna blame me if I look at you and go, ugh? Like, do you really deserve to be upset? You know what you're wearing. You know what you're equipping. Okay, so more corpses. Not much of a story here. There are a bunch of tombstones, though. And also a bunch of rubble. Where exactly that rubble came from, I have no idea. It doesn't look like it came off of that, and it probably didn't come off the castle. If it did, that would be mighty impressive. Maybe there used to be something more here? Considering that there's a bunch of pieces of it sunken into the ocean. So maybe this area used to be... Maybe this gate is what remains. It's the only thing that was actually kept up for whatever their reasons. But there used to be more of a fortification in this area, and maybe this was the final battleground. Like, Godfrey fought all the way here, and then this was the place where that guy died, and that's the reason why the sword was interred in this location. That is my guess. That is my guess. And that would also be the reason why there's a bunch of really old tombstones. Which, again, they're all piled into... is it... Could you just not once just have an ordinary cemetery where they're all laid out in a line in a sensible way? I know you want it to look cool or whatever, but... whatever. You'd think that there would be tombstones all over the place as a result. But yeah, let me touch this real fast and get this out of the way. Okay, I wonder where this Grace wants me to go. Yeah, it doesn't point me anywhere. It's just here. Okay. There's not really a reason to come back to this location either. As far as I know. Maybe there is, and it has something to do with that big stone. Still a bunch of corpses. Floating tree. And some random, message. I do like this big gnarled looking tree, though. I've always liked trees that have character. Nothing like a fantastic, dramatic tree to hang yourself on. I'm gonna need that later. Goodness gracious. Yeah, Yeah. And the most obvious landmark, of course, is this gigantic-ass something. This big butthole gravestone. Maybe the gravestone belongs to a giant or something, and the Revenger himself was a giant. I have no idea. Or maybe this is not even a gravestone, even though it looks like one and it's surrounded by other gravestones. Like the fact that it kind of looks like something was thrust through it. Like someone had a gigantic sword and plunged it into whatever this tombstone was. Or it could be it has some other purpose that I'm not privy to yet, and that this is actually some sort of bizarre stone that's used for some ridiculous summon or something that happens later in the game. I really don't know. But that's what it looks like. It looks like a tombstone. A headstone for someone that fell and was very big, or very important. Because as we all know, whenever you're very important, you need lots of big things to let everyone that's alive know how important you were whenever you were dead. And then all those people will look at it and be like, wow, that's big, and not actually care that you existed at all. Because no matter how big of a mausoleum you construct for yourself, no one's really going to give a shit. Except for maybe historians, and then they will only care about it for very selfish reasons. Oh. Oh, because he returns, I forgot. Well, I'm going to have to go back to the beginning either way. So, in order to finish off this guy's quest, you have to do this. You have to go back to the beginning and do what I just got through doing. And go run through the whole level to talk to him again. Again, there should be a ladder right here. There is absolutely no reason why there should not be a ladder there. That is not acceptable. Don't do that. Bad level designer. Bad. Okay. So, video game, please stop. I will use this opportunity to sort of briefly talk about the concept of invasions. It's not really a good place for it, but whatever. Nice, nice! Love it whenever it comes together like that. And I take no damage at all, and I manage to catch all of them in one swift motion. Invasions and co-op and everything, leading off from our conversation last time, if you can call it a conversation. Invasions have become way more of a problem in this game. Because in this game, of course, you cannot invade someone unless they either intentionally have opened themselves up to invasion using an item, which I've not gotten yet, because roundtable, or if they have a summon in the world, a co-op partner. And the more of them you have, the more up in priority you get, I think. Now, this is a problem for a couple reasons. It's kind of a complicated subject. It's not complicated, there's just a lot that people have complained about with it. People that are sort of career invaders... Ha, the guy fell off. What a dumbass. Dick. Hitting me out of my fucking iframes. Hurry up. I'm not impressed with you. Hurry up. Wow, video game really freaked out there. There we go. One day I'll be able to record this game correctly. One day. People that are career invaders have complained a lot about this because their pool of targets has basically dwindled to next to nothing. Especially in this game where, as I have said before, as someone that is looking for co-op, your sources of it are basically just catacombs and almost nothing else. Or very, very specific areas that are usually placed right next to bosses. So, not only have invasions kind of dried up, but also co-op in general has kind of dried up. And it's limited to the least fun areas of the game. Which is very unfortunate. But even if this was another game like Dark Souls 3 or whatever, a lot of these career invaders have been complaining because they want those targets. But of course, the reason for this was FromSoft has acknowledged that players are getting really tired of using a humanity, using an ember, and then having to constantly... Like, you see here, I'm just standing here talking. If I was embered up in, like, Dark Souls 3, I could be invaded right now. Like, sure, I would have quote-unquote lower priority, but someone could come in and accost me for really no reason. Like, I don't have a co-op buddy, I have no advantages, I may have not even started the level. There are some cases in some of the games where you can be human and sitting on a bonfire and just be invaded, and it will kick you out of the bonfire, and you could be off using the bathroom or something. So you, like, well, just quit the game if you don't want to be invaded. Like, people do shit like that. Well, like, people will, I don't know, like, victim blame, however you want to describe it. Like, people are at fault for just, like, trying not to have to think about invaders 100% of the time. And that's generally been my problem with people that make these sort of arguments, like invaders, career invaders, is they are very disingenuous about what they actually want. And they seem to think of themselves as being the most important people in the universe. This is not true of everyone. Certainly. Maybe not even the majority. But a lot of people that make those sorts of disingenuous arguments about the concept of invasions in these games... Are you fucking serious? Here's one now. Just like that. How in the world? Oh, he must have, like, I must have, like, hit... Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. They heard the sound of, that thing being hit. They all came running. But that actually is exactly what the invasion experience is like, just now. Is you'll just be standing there doing something else, maybe not even at the keyboard, or at the controller, and then suddenly you just get attacked. And it's like, well, you should have been paying attention. Let me go take care of this little treasure. Look at him. Just trying to waste my time. Asshole! Ha ha ha. He got to see how cool I was before he died. So whenever the news of this happened very early on, like way before Elden Ring even entered its open beta, there were a lot of these kinds of disingenuous arguments about how, and I actually have heard this, of people saying things like, invaders actually do a service to hosts because they're teaching them about PvP. Or they're showing them the ropes, you know. Like, they should be grateful that we're doing this. Which to me always sounded a lot like a high school bully, or, you know, elementary school bully, who says things like, well, I'm just toughening them up. They're going to experience a lot worse things than me after they get out of school, so it's good that I'm shaking them down for their lunch money every day. It's not about that at all. Like, that's kind of my problem, is they exhibit that same personality flaw. It's not about them doing anyone a favor. The bully does it because the bully likes having someone to pick on. It makes them feel strong because they have insecurities about themselves, because they're bullied at home, or they're missing love in their life, and their way of doing that is by attacking people that they see around them that either have love in their lives, or they're, you know... I'm not going to read too much, but just as far as school bullies go, that's what that is all about. It's about their own insecurities. So it's not that dramatic when it comes to video game invaders, certainly. Like, I'm not making a direct comparison. But it does follow that same mentality. That the reason why that invaders invade is because it feels good to invade people. Because as I've mentioned in my prior playthroughs of Dark Souls, invaders usually have extreme amounts of advantage. If you're invading one person. they usually have extreme amounts of advantage because they know the area, they do nothing but PvP all the time, usually in this very specific area. They are often attacking people in a specific place where they know exactly how to attack people, in the sense of they know where the enemy placements are, they know that they can fire a great arrow at someone as they're crossing a specific bridge and knock them off that way. Like all the environmental dangers as well are also present. They also typically have gear that is very specifically upgraded in such a way that it doesn't move them out of the level range for invasions of the people that they are targeting. They know exactly how to level themselves in such a way that it follows those same rules. Like SL13 style builds in Dark Souls 1 are an example of that. That are using Chaos Upgrade Pass, that sort of stuff. Like, the career invaders have all of the advantages against what is usually just some kid that is going through the area for the first time. Maybe they have been embered up against their will because they just beat a boss or whatever. And they don't know what's going on. They don't know where they are. They don't know where any of the enemies are. They have no experience PvPing because they have no interest in it. And that's the reason why invaders invade. Because they want targets like that. They want someone that they can invade that they know with certainty has almost no chance whatsoever of beating them. It's the same reason why people smurf in any sort of PvP game. Especially, like I don't know, like League of Legends or like a fighting game or anything like that. The pleasantry of smurfing is that you get to pick on people that have absolutely no chance against your experience level. Especially whenever you're playing two completely different games. It's at least different in a fighting game where the person is there, presumably, to play a fighting game. They're there for the PvP. Whereas in a game like this, they're not there for the PvP, presumably. They're there to just wander through the world and maybe have a little bit of an advantage against the monsters because they have a little bit more health from embering up or from using a humanity. So whenever you show up, they basically have no chance whatsoever. And all the arguments that you're doing them a favor or that, no, they technically have a chance, they could do all these things, really fall completely flat. It's one of the reasons why invaders hated the Seed of Life mechanic, is because it actually made them have to try against people that normally would have absolutely no chance. Now again, this is not true of everyone. Some people are just like ordinary PvPers that can tell that PvP signs are really unreliable. And like this game, for example, doesn't have an arena system. There's no arena in this game. So what do people have to do? They have to invade. Like, that's the only choice they have. So usually whenever you see people doing PvP stuff, it's very common for it to all be happening in the beginning area, like right around here. Because that's where all the people are. How do I do this again? Yeah, you can show multiplayer status, by the way, doing this. I actually don't know what all the icons mean. I think the red ones just mean invaders are there. And the blue ones mean that people are there doing co-op. I think that's what that means. And this is presumably within my level range. Which, by the way, FromSoft really needs to figure out how down-leveling works in these games, so that can stop being an issue. That way you can be level 900 and you can still get matched with people that are level 5 or whatever. That should be something that is possible in some way. I'll think more about how they go about doing that in the future, I guess, but not right now. That's the problem with invasions right now. Is the pull for them is basically next to nothing, except for that one spot in the open world, because as we've covered, catacomb co-op is really shitty, and typically people will summon right before the boss, and if they don't, then the odds of you being invaded are not particularly great, and even if they are, then people usually have the area cleared out before they can even finish the process of invading. And whenever you do invade, you typically are way far behind everyone, instead of being in front of them. Like in an area like this, in theory it would work a little bit better, because this is a designed area in the style of the previous games. So you're going through a mostly linear area, and the invader can be plopped down right down in front of the players before they get there, and they can do some sort of setup where they're preparing with the monsters that are around them, which has happened in this area before. I've done a little co-op in this area, and in Morne's castle, I actually have, like the other day, I actually caught an invader spawning right in front of me, and of course he ended up not faring too well, but it does happen. Now, my general problem with, like, all the arguments centered around invasions is that invasions should not happen at all. And additionally, the levels being designed as... One of the problems is that, like I've covered before, the Japanese community is way more prevalent. Co-op is way more prevalent. So that's always been sort of their natural counter, is having invasions. I like the idea of doing co-op in these games, but they don't handle it particularly well. So especially in like Dark Souls 3, where there's just this gigantic roaming band of player characters that are just fucking up everything in their path, which this game also has that problem to some degree. That should not be happening either. And especially like gank squads of like if I summoned in 2 guys and we just stood around waiting for invaders, that also should not be happening. All the games in the series of games have always had this issue of the balance of co-op versus the whatever the counter is to it. The enemies can't be the counter, because if you design the enemy encounters in such a way to counter co-op, you end up with a lot of problems that we have in Elden Ring now, where they are expecting you to do co-op. So whenever you do one versus the monsters, and don't summon, don't use co-op in any way, don't even use your little ash buddies, then you're going to have a huge problem, because the enemies are just blatantly unfair, because they're meant to be unfair, because the other players that are around you are meant to like hit them in the back and draw their attention away. And as we've seen in some of the boss battles today, whenever that happens, then some of the encounters become almost trivial. Like they're almost a waste of time. Like they just evaporate just like that, or their AI can't handle it and they freak out. It's a really bad balance, and they in every one of the games they always screw it up, and this one is no exception. In my opinion, co-op should... I'll be careful about this. You probably should not have 2 other straight-up player characters, or even 3 for that matter, roaming around with you in a big pack. At most, it should probably be 1. And more importantly, I think that there should be another system in place where you can co-op with someone, but you're not explicitly your own character, or you're a weaker version of your own character. And I'm going to apply this to invasions as well. Controller hung on my pants for a second. That's why I shouldn't wear pants. Instead of, invasions should always be a thing in the sense that you can put down your sign and PvP with other people. And if your complaint is, well, then no one wants to do it. Well, tough shit. If no one wants to do it, they should go and that should show you that it's a really unpopular mechanic to be invaded against your will. And all the arguing of, well, I'm doing a favor, no one believes you. That's a disingenuous argument. No one gives a shit except for other invaders. And the reason why you have such a small population of people that agree with you in that respect, and it's a very, very enclosed online community of people that are all agreeing with one another that no one listens to, is because of that reason. No one believes you. The people that are doing co-op or just wandering around in the level want to be left alone. And if you can't accept that, then too bad. It doesn't matter. Clearly the developers also agree with me. There's also an old interview back in... I think it was before Dark Souls 1 even came out. And some people have argued against it. Well, it's just a long time ago. It's not valid anymore. It's still valid. It was Miyazaki. I don't know if I'll bother linking this in the description or not. You might just have to find it. I'll probably forget about it. But it was Miyazaki talking about the concept of invasions and PvP, and him saying, like, straight up, it was never meant to be that the invader was a boss of any kind. It was just meant to be a strong challenge to the player that had a reward at the end of it that maybe drained some of your resources. the invader is designed to lose in these encounters. And there's been lots of videos about this. But invaders are meant to lose. So if you're like showing up in these worlds and you're like, but there's 3 dudes, how am I supposed to beat them? You're not supposed to. That's the mentality of the developers. But to be fair, I don't agree with that mentality. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's a shitty way to design things. To just have people show up, go through the bother of farming stuff so that they actually can have the resources to invade. And then you are like, oh, well, too bad whenever they show up and there's 3 guys just standing around them that just butt fuck you as soon as you appear. That's ridiculous. A game should never be designed like that. That's laughable. So in my mind, my solution to this has always been there should be placeable PvP, which will never be popular because PvP in general is just not that popular. Like the only time that it's really... The only games that are really like overtly popular like that are probably going to be like first-person shooter. Like there's plenty of games where people player versus player. But the more popular ones do tend to be things that have other elements that are attracting players to them. Like in the case of like first-person shooters, a lot of it comes down to people love being able to customize their character. It's very accessible. You have a group of people with you, so it's not necessarily all on you. Like there's various factors that go into it. That's actually kind of an interesting discussion to have, but I'm not going to have it right now. And in like League of Legends, obviously there's a lot of PvE components that have nothing to do with PvP. And you can actually outscale your opponents by just interacting with the PvE environment. So it's not always going to be straight up PvP, and that's also a team game, so there's more leverage in that respect as well. And even in fighting games, people are attracted to the cool factor of, you know, playing as the characters, of dressing them up, of how cool the moves look. But whenever a fighting game comes out, they always go through this process of lots of people buy the game because they're attracted to that. Then after about 1 month of people trying to play them, there's always a mass exodus because people always go through the same process of, man, fighting games look so cool, why do I... Oh, right, I forgot. They're miserable to actually play. So once the newbie, sort of the low skill level, like new adopter player base sort of fades out whenever a new fighting game comes out, then the population tends to drop like a brick. And even the most popular fighting games tend to have very, very, very low populations comparatively to other games. That's just sort of the nature of PvP in general. It's a very stressful, very aggravating sort of experience. And Dead by Daylight is even like this too. Killer populations are very low because that's more similar to actually straight up PvP than playing as a survivor is. Because with a survivor, you're at least doing quote-unquote PvE elements like repairing generators or whatever else. And you're in a team, so there's more leverage. It's not as anxiety-driven. Whereas with Killer, it is extremely anxiety-driven because all the pressure is on you, and you're doing almost nothing but exclusively trying to attack other human players. If you don't like those comparisons, I understand, but you get my point. Is straight-up PvP is often unwanted by the majority of human players. Most people just don't want it in their lives. So doing it by force is one of the worst things that you can make someone go through. Especially whenever the other person doing the invading has as many advantages as they do in a FromSoft game. So my solution has usually, in my head, been, I mentioned this before, is there should be more things that are sort of like the Rat Covenant in Dark Souls 2. I love the idea of the Rat Covenant. I don't think it was implemented perfectly. I wish it was more like, take this castle, for example. Castle Morne. Let's say that there are a bunch of player-controlled traps. This is just one avenue. I'll talk more about another one here in a second. And it's never clear which one the enemy player is going to be at. And they can trigger them whenever they want to. Now, eventually, human players will get used to those, but the more options that you have for actually doing that, then the more pressure that you can put on the player without it necessarily being extremely dangerous for them. Like if it's a trap that one hit kills you, no, absolutely not. That should not be acceptable. If it's something that drains your resources, then yes. Because that's how... like, you'll notice this also goes with how I generally don't like how the modern games are designed as well, because they become more about, will give the player an almost infinite supply of resources to heal themselves eventually, not at the start of the game. Like right now, they're kind of limited. But we're going to make the game more about one-shot kills. So if you miss one roll, you die. You have to go back and fight the boss again. If you get into the wrong situation with enemies, they'll just jump on you and kill you in like a second. I don't like that. Because there's no leverage. You can't take pressure off the human players like that. So if you're allowing invaders to have sort of a Covenant-style thing, where they're in a set-piece area, where they can control the traps and when they're initiated, and even do things like throw down poison bombs that players have to move out of, release more enemies, but they're only given a certain amount of, the invaders or whatever are only given a certain amount of resources in order to accomplish that, then that might work better. It's something that I would want them to explore. The Rat Covenant worked fairly well, but a lot of its problem was also at the very end, the invader can still just hop down and fuck you. So, and people eventually got to the point where they just memorized the pathing for it, and they could just run through the area. So as a result, the entire concept of the area kind of just stopped working. Because after you memorize the pathing correctly, then it becomes a non-issue, and all you're really doing is just running. Like, in that game, you were invading another person's world, which I love that idea, by the way. You're running through the quote-unquote invader's world and just trying to move so fast that he could not catch up with you. So that concept kind of just fell completely apart. Whereas if it's a normal area like this, and the invader doesn't have that much control over it, and can't, and is not allowed to actually just jump down and attack you, and instead is operating almost more like a, what's the name of that Resident Evil game? Where there was like a controller. It was bundled with Resident Evil 3, I think. But sort of like that, where the hostile forces actually, they don't have like a actual physical control most of the time. Maybe they can at the very, very end, but they control like another character. But point being, they're not a player character that gets to just fall down and then just try to attack them normally. But if they're able to do that, then it works a lot better. But that leads into what I would actually want the invasions to actually be, and this has been my general idea, is, you know how in all the games there's always night enemies? Like in this game there is, like I'm wearing his armor right now, there's like a Godric Knight, and they're the guys with the big great shield and the spears. They move very, very fast, they're very dangerous. And then later there's other enemies that are almost identical to those. They're like Cuckoo Knights, for example. Later on, there's even more like that. There's a Crucible Knight, which is a knight that you can fight up in this... No, up here. I need to turn this off, can't see. That's right here, at the Everjail. There are enemies like that, right? You could have a system where instead of invading as yourself, you have like your flasks, for example. Like right now I have 4 healing flasks, or potentially I could have 6. And those are your stocks. And you can inhabit the body of one of those knights. And after you inhabit that body of that knight, you can move it anywhere that you want to. And you can attack with it and so on. And this works in FromSoft games because if you don't know, if you've ever looked up those FromSoft videos, or the videos on YouTube of like this boss versus this boss, 20 versions of this boss versus this other boss, those work because the way that they make these games is all of them are technically player controllable. You can actually use a controller with 100% of them. Well, not 100%, but almost all of them. So, in theory, you could take control of almost any enemy in the game, because all of them have, like, attacks that are still tied to buttons. So it's not like this would be complicated. There's even moddable versions where you can do this already in, like, Dark Souls 3. So you, like, inhabit the body of one of these knights, and with that knight's body, you can attack the player normally, but it's still a basic enemy. And your goal is not to... This is important. The goal should not be to kill the host player. If they die, then they die. but you should have some sort of ambition in your invasion of that player's world. Even if it's like killing the co-op buddies. Because that's also, I think like purples in 3 could do that. It didn't work too well, but, you know, it's possible. But after that knight dies, because it is still just a basic enemy, then you use up one of your flasks as though you're healing, and then you hop into another body of another knight that's somewhere else. And you can do that like up to however many flask charges that you have, however this works. Whether it's like 5 or 20 or whatever, I don't know. Hopefully not 20. And since all the placements of the knights and everything are all like formatted for the level, it's all designed, it's not as though it's so organic of a system that you can actually exploit it in some way. Like, you can only move as far as that knight ordinarily can move, since you're not a player character. And of course, the goal would just be to try to drain as many resources from the player as possible. Like, maybe you get an item every time the... No, that wouldn't work. It's too complicated to think this off the top of my head. But your ambition should not be to overtly just kill the enemy player, or the host. Your goals should be in the design of all these systems to just drain their resources and inconvenience them and try to slow down their pace. Because that's how these games should also be designed. They shouldn't be these spastic one-hit kill simulators like they're becoming. Where you just die and then that's it, and then you have to run through everything again and play perfectly. They really should just be resource-based, with like lower amounts of healing and so forth and so on. Because then you have enough leverage to where you don't have to worry so much about everything. But that's my general solution for invasions, is move away from random invasions. Well, one, move away from having giant globs of co-op partners that are just face-fucking all the content and obliterating everything. If you do that, then also the single-player content can also be not quite as insane as it would be. Like, one of the reasons why the summons are the way that they are, and you're encouraged to use them constantly, is because they're designing the game to be co-op, because they just gave up. But if you allow co-op experiences to be something that's not quite that extreme, then the game doesn't have to be that extreme. And as a result, the invasions don't have to be quite as extreme. Like, imagine if in co-op, instead of, like, you just showing up, which I still like that idea. Like, you should always be allowed to have at least one person like that. What if instead of just that, also you could, like as a co-op person, I don't know, like show up in their game and have that same flask system, but you can pick up the dead bodies of, like, a knight or one of the lesser enemies and control them, or fight as a more spectral version of yourself. That, I don't really like that either, though. I hope you guys can tell I'm thinking off the top of my head. And part of the problem of design is that you won't always have a clear-cut answer to these issues. I hope you can tell that the crux of what I'm arguing is what's important to me, not necessarily the finer details of what the solutions would be. That sort of stuff actually takes like weeks or maybe even months to iron out in a way that is satisfying. So me not being able to think of it off the top of my head makes perfect sense. You could have the players that are doing co-op control lesser characters. You could have them be the same characters but just be weaker, which I don't think would be satisfying. You could have them control things that ordinarily the host player would not be able to control. Or you could have them be sort of phantasmal in some way and be able to interact with things that the host player ordinarily would not even know were there or cannot control. Or you could have it be, if you were going to keep random invasions and have ordinary PvP combat, you could have it so that the co-op people are showing up to ward off invaders in some way, and the invader can't actually interact with the host, but the invader can interact with other elements that can affect the host. And so the co-op people that are invading in that respect, their job would be to actually, they would be like blue sentinels in a way. Their job would be to stop them. And there might actually also be like ordinary phantasmal enemies that also work in that respect, so they can clear them out as well. And there's like a benefit for both sides. You see where I'm going with this. Just, I like the idea of trying to leverage things off of the host being murdered overtly and getting invaders away from being like super enemies that everyone has to deal with, whether they want them or not. And please give us more options of being able to invade, but not have it be so overtly hostile, and more options to do co-op without it necessarily just being straight up co-op. That's my path of logic to this. The actual details of how to go about doing this is the hard part. That's the part that would require a design doc and all this other stuff. So, anyways, that was my miniature podcast on the concept of invasions and co-op. If you don't agree with that, that is perfectly fine. And I'm not trying to paint all invaders as being bullies or anything like that, but it was more about the fact that a lot of people don't want PvP. So any arguments that are like, no, they deserve it, no one's going to listen to you. Like, it's not going to ring true. People are just going to ignore it. You're not going to find any support with it. So you need to explore other avenues of this without just trying to bludgeon people with the idea of, no, me. I want people to invade. I need people for the thing that I like. It doesn't matter. Like, you're a lower priority on the rung than actually appealing to the people that are just playing the game as it was designed. And you're going to have to accept that. But anyways, sorry. Hopefully that didn't hurt anyone's feelings, but I hope you got what my direction was. So let's tell this man about his dead-ass daughter.
I'm in your debt for keeping the sword from those fallen creatures. I'm no longer
It's mine now.
by duty. Once I've rescued Arena, I will spend my remaining days with her.
Yeah, about that.
Thanks to you, I will be reunited with Arena. And
Yes,
devote
true.
my remaining days to her. Arena has a gentle nature, though. I only hope it remains intact.
She's also blind. I wonder where he thought that she was going.
Thanks to you,
I'll be running out of
As I
room.
only
Okay.
hope.
Okay. She has a gentle nature. It's like he's like the only survivor of this castle. You know how a captain's supposed to go down with his ship? That sentiment? I don't think it reflects well on a commander, or whatever his name is. I forget what his title is. It doesn't reflect well on the keeper of a castle to be the only person that survived it. Like, everyone is dead. Big pile of corpses. Think you may have made a few mistakes here and there, buddy. Okay. So, let's go back. He probably wondered why this guy showed up in front of him and just stood in place for like 30 minutes and ever so often like moved around a little bit and collected a few butterflies and then fought some demi-humans to the death before going back to just standing in place for a long time. Maybe he's hibernating. So here we are. It makes sense why he would find her body to some degree. Because if he left his castle, which it's so silly that he just walks out of his castle. Like, after all this happens, he just walks out and then starts walking down the road. Then he sees the caravan. It's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Walks down here. I guess somehow knows to look behind here. Maybe he got up there and then noticed that none of the, like, that's where the path of soldiers and destruction ended. And wanted to make absolutely sure, then turned around, then noticed this, and was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, and then ran up here. And that's the reason why he's on this side as opposed to that side. That's my lore. That's my lore. He looks sad. I wonder why. At least they didn't, like, cut her in two or something. Maybe they just bonked her on the head. And then she just hit her head, and death was instant. She never saw it coming. Aha!
Rena, how could this be? My daughter
What do you mean,
deserves
how?
better. The fault lies with me.
I think all the people that were
I
under
chose
you deserve
duty
better.
over my daughter's safety. And that is how fate has answered.
This is a bit Shakespearean. This does feel a bit more like Mr. George would write. Because we have a king of a castle, so to speak. Castellan? I forget. I think that's how you pronounce it. Castellan. Of the castle. In other words, he's not actually... He's basically like a warden of it. Who is mistreating his subjects, but denies that he ever did so, is completely oblivious to it. And his daughter, who happens to be the blind one, like he's blind in character, she's physically blind. He sends her off because he cares about his progeny, whereas all the other people are just left to die in droves. As the demi-humans rise up to quote-unquote betray him, when really they're just fighting for their freedom from subjugation. And he ends up choosing duty over his own family, supposedly, even though he definitely prioritized his own daughter over everyone else. And in the process of doing that, ends up, of course, losing her. But he still remains a hypocrite.
I'll find them. The foul wretches responsible for this. I'll hunt them down and exterminate every last one of them. Rest assured, Arena, it will be done.
So after all this, his, actual character, who he actually is, actually comes out. And I believe later on, you can actually, speaking of invasions, you can actually get invaded by him. Because that's how far he's fallen. Even though you're the one that supposedly protected the sword, the all-important sword. What was so important about that sword, anyways? He had the stay to protect that stupid sword. What was really so important about it? That it belonged to a guy that died centuries ago? And that guy himself was someone that was persecuted by Godfrey. We don't know Godfrey's character, but he very well could have just been an insufferable, conquering asshole. Who was just trying to unify the lands. And there was, one last guy who was trying to get revenge on him for what he had done to him, and that was his sword. And he was trying to protect it, which is basically a symbol of Godfrey's wickedness. Maybe. We don't know yet. But either way, really, what was important about it? Does the sword do anything? No. Is the sword important to some sort of political machinations that are going on in the area? No. Nothing is left. The area is in complete turmoil. There's no real civilization left. What was he... why was he wasting all of his time on this stupid sword? It's just his... That was his folly, in other words. It is very Shakespearean in that way. Because he's put all this emphasis on his duty to his castle, which he completely... he completely fumbled that. He lost his familial responsibilities as well. He's lost everything. And realized that, I'm sure that he's completely, all the things that he considered to be important about his character were just a waste of time. He's done this for nothing. It was a complete waste. And the only thing that was actually, arguably, important to him in any way is now eating a big face full of worms in the dirt. Now, whether or not she was supposed to be a finger maiden or not is unclear. So it could be that she was being sent off for that reason, to become a finger maiden. That was his last shot or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll learn later. Kind of doubt it. But she at least was blind. I think it was more that she was physically blind in contrast to his blindness of character. I would like to think that. But it is possible it could be something else. But all the same, he's gonna be a madman now.
The foul wretches responsible for this. I'll hunt them down and exterminate every last one of them. Rest assured, Arena, it will be done.
I'll hunt them down And needless to say, I don't think that arena would actually have wanted that either way. By the way, I went ahead and got Kessel Ward Tunnel. I've been debating this. I think I'm going to take this portal over to Mr. Beastman, which I was avoiding doing because it is technically part of this area, and I didn't want to trigger any weird, like, quest shenanigans. But surely it's not that bad. And also, yeah, okay. And also, the whole roundtable thing, the reason why I'm not able to get up there, presumably is because the trigger for her doing that is one of like 3 things. One is either you have to... Come on, load. One is you either have to trigger the cutscene against Godric. Not Godric. What is the first dude's name? I can't remember. It starts with an M. But whatever his name is, that asshole. I helped someone kill him yesterday. You either have to trigger the cutscene for it, and then you can quit out. Although some people report that they have to die to him repeatedly. And if they keep dying, then eventually it does happen. It's one of those FromSoft things, you never know what to believe. Or you have to circumvent the castle entirely and go up here. Or, I think you can actually go over to this area and sit at a bonfire in this area, and then that also will count. This, to me, seems like the safest way of going about doing it, because this is the first area, and I don't think that Miyazaki would include an area or encourage you to go down a quest path that would straight up break the quest lines of everyone else. So we'll go here and try this. Now let's just avoid that gentleman. We'll try our best to avoid doing anything at all. Bestial Sanctum. Okay. And we've already covered this location. So I need to... I guess I'll go ahead and do this. I'm very paranoid about the quests. I'm very, very paranoid about the quests. And by the way, these things, before I was wondering what the hell they are, the thing they look the most like to me now are probably the demi-human, like, mothers or queens, or however you want to describe them. That's probably what they look like the most to me. I have gone in and made a list of all the NPC quest lines that I am trying to track. And thankfully, they don't really seem to include any spoilers overtly. It's mainly just be at this location, talk to them here, whatever. I think there's... Hold on, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... There are 7 that I associate with Stormveil that I need to do. And some of them are very, very specific. Like Roger, like Sorcerer Roger, or Roger, however you want to pronounce his name. That one you need to get right, apparently, or else it fucks up a lot of things. Then after that, there is another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that are in the lakes area. There's 1, 2, 3 that are actually in this area that I'm in now. Like all this. 1, 2, 3 here. And then there's 2 more that are after the Grand Lift. And then there's 3 more that are like in the volcano area. And then there's 1 that's in the Lindell, the city, the capital city itself. There's a lot. There's a lot of quest chains. And they can very, very easily get fucked up really badly. You smell your goodie, buddy? You smell your Twix bars? Would you like a Twix bar? Oh, I want a Twix bar. You want a Twix bar? I want a Twix bar. Okay. Give him his Twix bar.
I smell it. Death.
Yeah, I know, Twix, right?
Feed it me.
It's good enough. Twix bars are actually surprisingly low calorie for a candy bar, which isn't saying much.
I shall grant thee eye and claw. Feed me more.
Pat me on the head. Tell me I'm a good boy. Maybe not. Aw. Okay, so this is the... I can fucking finally... Even though this is not the seal that I would use for the build that I'm doing. The clawmark seal is best used if you have high strength with a little bit of faith, I think. Like minimal faith requirements with mainly strength, because the scaling on it is not very good. And that's like the opposite of what I'm doing, but still I can use it. Beast Eye. Okay. Let me walk away so I don't R2 this gentleman. Now, where the hell is that shit? Here we are. Beast Eye. That's the thing that trembles when it's close to Deathroot. Yeah, we've already seen this. Grank, that's what its name is. Murky Violet Iris. It is sort of violet. I wish that... I've known a few girls. I've never known a guy, I guess, but... that have worn violets... Man, I have a lot of these. Contacts, and I can never really see it. It's a little too hard to make out. Okay, and Bestial Sling swiftly flings a number of incantation we cast with deadly perform. It is said that in the time before the Erd Tree, stones were the first weapons of the beasts who had gained intelligence. I wonder if this is insinuating there were not people before the Erd Tree. That the Erd Tree is somehow the origin of all human life. I somehow doubt this. But it is possible, I guess. I don't know enough about anything to know one way or the other. Okay, and finally, Clawmark Seal. The Clawmark represents Grank's wrath, enhances bestial incantations learned from Grank. A rare trinket which allows incantations to be scaled with strength. Finally. Oh, I can finally cast the incantations that I have put 30 faith into. That is ridiculous it's taken so long. Another issue that I have with Elden Ring is if you choose not to go running around willy-nilly and do what I'm doing now, which is so weird. Like, the quest lines in some cases break dramatically if you do this. Like, especially if you go up to the plateau. Like, a lot of quest lines, they're just gone. Like Sorcerer Roger, for example, you need to, like, there's a very, very specific sequence that you need to do. Because there's certain characters that you need to interact with, and if they aren't there anymore, then you can't do his stuff. And some other characters are like that as well. And some other characters, if you do their quest lines, it locks you into a path for an ending that you may not want. This game's really bad about it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, go anywhere. Fuck up your game file. Have fun. It's almost like a fucking Facebook personality test. Which ending will you get? I don't know. You locked me out of most of them. Ooh, wonder which one it was. Like, they're real assholes about it. That's something that I've always noticed about FromSoft games, is that they love to take the agency away from you and try to force you to adapt to the bullshit that they do. It's like they're just someone throwing grenades out wildly without looking. And just, oh, did you survive? Did you dodge them? I didn't want to be in this location. You blew up the thing I wanted. Oh, well, that happens. Like, they have sort of that way of looking at design. Where they're trying to make you adapt to things, or just look up a bunch of spoilers online. The way FromSoft designs their quest chains is wrong. Like, I will straight up say that. It's not a matter of, oh, well, you know, every game is different, every design approach is valid. No, it's wrong. The way that they design all these things so that you can break quest chains, so you can miss stuff, it is incorrect. It is a bad design practice. I'm sure that they know what they're doing, in the sense that, you know, they can still design them, obviously. but their design goals are completely in error. You should never design a game like this. That is straight up wrong. Now, making players go through the game multiple times to be able to collect everything, I also consider to be a really bad thing to do. But I understand it. I wouldn't say that one is overtly wrong, but it's certainly uncool. And in this game, Elden Ring is no exception. If you want everything in the game, you will have to go through the game at least twice, I think. Maybe 3 times. I think only twice, though.
I shall grant thee eye and claw. Feed me more.
So whether or not he is a demi-human himself, I don't know. He makes like a little purring noise, too. Kind of pleasant. Good for him. Considering that he looks just like a boss, I'm sure I'll never have to fight him. That would never come up. Like, I don't actually know, but just, like, look at him. It's gonna happen. There'll be something. Like he's eating fucking death root. Like, he's either, like, overtly a bad man, and at the end of his quest chain, he is like, okay, now I have all I need. Now I'll turn into Bowsette, and then he fucks you. Or, you know, like that. Or he, I don't know, you feed him too many of them and he goes crazy, or, you know, something like that's gonna happen. Alright, here we go, finally.
Forgive
Where have
me.
you fucking been?
I've been testing you to determine
For 80 hours?
Elden Ring would truly have you if you had the mettle to endure this long and arduous path. It seems my worries were unfounded. Torrent had your measure from the very start, whereas I merely pretended. There is but
What a
one
bitch.
other thing I can do to offer you guidance. I can take you to the roundtable hold, gathering of tarnished champions, guided by grace.
God, it has been so fucking hard to do anything without access to this. And of course, since in an earlier part, I already went over everything in the round table to an arduous degree, then I'm not going to be covering it
Let
again.
my hand rest upon you for but a moment.
But here we go. That was indeed the trigger. You have to rest at a site of grace that is outside of Limgrave or the Weeping Peninsula. That seems to be the trigger. Which is unfortunate because, as I've said before, it is very, very dangerous. Okay, we are finally here, though. Now I can go around talking to these assholes, buy all the incantations that I need, buy all the armor, the optional armor that I wanted, buy the ability to cast things with a fucking seal, even though I technically don't need one anymore. Do Fia's nonsense, talk to the Belloc. Like, I can finally do all this stuff. Oh my god. Oh, it's been so bad. Alright. And actually equipping this claw mare, it actually may be too heavy. Alright. Alright. This is where I'm going to end it. Thank goodness. Next time, I guess I will have to go into Stormvale. That will be the next big thing. Which is unfortunate because I hate Stormvale. Like, Stormvale is such a pain in the ass. Like, it's really hard to explore. It's going to be very painful just trying to 100% all that area and look at everything. Because the inside of that place is very labyrinthian. And there's also going to be, like, a sub-basement area that has a boss that I might have to fight that I don't really want to fight. But that's also part of that sorcerer's quest chain, I think. Yes, it is. Because I have to, like, interact with some sort of bloodstain or something. But we'll do that next time. Thank you guys for joining me. Hope you enjoyed/tolerated this particular episode. Which was better than the last episode. Last episode, I just lost my mind, and that was it. Arguably better. So I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Hey,
Yes, hello. Why does it default to hello instead of... Well, I guess hey could also be a goodbye, if you're an insane person. I'll just rest. I need it. Oh, we're finally here. Okay. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.